Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Come on, Roger.
Put the headphones on?
Yeah, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it.
Go for it.
Well, fuck it. We'll do it live.
Yeah, do it live.
That's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
That's a classic look behind the scenes.
Do it live.
Fucking
Fuck it.
crazy people telling you the news.
Yeah. That's good. And the William Shatner one where, the studio guy, he says Shatner's doing some ADR for the cartoon, the Star Trek cartoon. And he says, he uses the word sabotage. And he gets corrected by the studio guy. He's like, Bill, it's pronounced sabotage. Please don't correct me. It disgusts me. It sickens me. And you say sabotage. I say sabotage. I absolutely love William Shatner. Especially.
My favorite ones are the I can't remember his name. Rosebud. Orson Welles. Jesus Christ.
Orson Welles.
What happened?
You started saying it.
I know. What happened? My brain just said, nope, no access. When Orson Welles was doing the Gallo wine commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those days? Like,
yeah.
Orson Welles
It's on the wine before it's time.
I know. And then he was like...
Everything was like an exhaustive sucking of air to come in to speak.
But then he was making fun of how shitty the wine was in between takes. Like he was angry.
Yeah. There is a CD that you can get. I can't remember what it's called, but I have them at home. And it's like all these radio things like that, where just when celebrities, lose it on while doing voiceover and ADR, it's hilarious.
Orson Welles is a crazy story, right? Because when he made that movie, when he made Citizen Kane, which was about William Randolph Hearst, William Randolph Hearst essentially shut down one of the most talented guys alive at the time, shut down his career.
Yeah, because the movie was kind of an insult about, the whole thing about Rosebud is that's the name of his girlfriend's clitoris.
Oh, really?
That was his nickname for her clitoris. And so Orson Welles was doing a kind of very he was jabbing at him in a very low level way.
Really?
Yeah, Rosebud.
How did he know that was the nickname of his girlfriend's clitoris?
People in Hollywood know these things.
Oh, boy.
Word gets around. Word gets around.
I would keep that one just to her.
Yeah.
Who told?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I mean, if you go back to like War of Worlds and then Citizen Kane, I mean, this guy was a dynamo and then they shut him down.
Well, yeah. And he was doing things that nobody else would do. It's like, he's like, oh, I want the camera down here, like on the phone. Well, we can't get the camera lens down that low. What you're talking about is impossible to do. And so he would just grab a pickaxe and just start chopping away at the studio concrete and dig a hole in the ground so you can put the camera down that low.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was obsessed with getting a vision on screen that was, even today, is so advanced. There's a shot in the very beginning when young Kane is like a little kid and he's out there playing with Rosebud. He's out there playing with the sled in the snow. And the camera is on him, and then it kind of starts pulling back, and it pulls through a window, and then we see his parents and the trust attorney, and the camera keeps backing up all the way into the room. Well, to do that in a studio and to have all that snow and everything, you need so much light, but you also need a lot of light inside because of the exposure change. It's like an amazing, incredible dolly shot, a reverse tracking shot. It's fantastic.
And what year did he do this, too?
I don't know the exact year.
Citizen Kane has to be 40s, right?
Yeah, probably. It's it's in the late 40s, I would think. Yeah,
Is that when it was, Jamie?
Yeah. Tell us the...
It should be on 41 is when it came out.
41.
41.
Early 40s. Early 40s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me see that shot.
Wartime.
Can we find that?
Wartime. It's a wartime film.
What, Jamie?
I was looking for. I was lost in some other ones.
Wartime 40s. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a
even
wartime
crazier.
movie. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
A lot of stuff going on back then.
Probably hard to get people to go to the movies back then.
No, it would be easy to go to the movies.
'Cause
In
they
fact,
wanted
wartime
something?
and depression and when things are bad, that's usually the best time for entertainment because people just want to escape.
Well, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Be careful. careful, Charles.
Kane.
Pull your muffler around your neck, Charles.
Kane, I think we shall have to tell him now.
Yes. I'll sign those papers now, Mr. Thatcher.
You people seem to forget that I'm the boy's father.
It's going to be done exactly the way I've told Mr. Thatcher.
There ain't nothing wrong with Colorado. I don't see why we can't raise our own son just because we come into some money. If I want, I can go to court. A father has a right to. A boarder that beats his bill and leaves worthless stock behind. That property is just as much my property as anybody's, now that it's valuable. And if Fred Graves had any idea all this was going to happen, he'd have made out those certificates in both our names.
However, they were made out in Mrs. Kane's name.
So in order to maintain that background exposure of the little kid in the window and the foreground, what you're not knowing is how much light they're using on the interior part in order to create that balance between the two. With the film stocks back then. And the other thing is that table gets flown in. Like they move that table into the shot because it's in the way of the camera move.
Wow.
And so there's all sorts of mathematics going on in the creation of this shot. And most people would just, be like, oh, just, shoot the kid outside and then cut inside, just do it like that. But, Wells was, he was thinking on a complete other level.
It's just, we got robbed of so many films. If you really think about it, what he could have made.
Yes and no. My favorite film of his is Touch of Evil. And there's this amazing shot with Charlton Heston where he's playing a Mexican and he's got this pencil thin, mustache. Chuck Heston as a Mexican is fantastic. And then everybody's so sweaty in the movie and it takes place in Mexico, but it's shot in Venice, California. And so the whole opening, which is this setting of a bomb in the trunk of a car, and then, here's the opening shot, and you can tell that it's actually downtown Venice.
And this is supposed to be Mexico?
Yeah, this is supposed to be like a border town in Mexico. I don't know if it's Tijuana or some other border town. But he does this amazing single shot.
Wow.
And which back then, this is really hard to do. And this is kind of a... it's Charlton Heston essentially saying, I believe in Orson Welles and his vision.
This is crazy.
That's downtown Venice. The beach is just beyond that.
Ah, wow. God, what year is
actually,
this?
I'm sorry, the beach might be behind us.
What year was this?
Shot. 58. Yeah, 1958.
Wow. It's an incredible shot.
And this is incredibly difficult to do as well because you've got a crane.
And now you're following the people.
Now you're following the people, and there's Charlton Heston with his mustache. And we know as an audience that there's a bomb in that car, but he doesn't know.
Wow.
And so, he's still,
Just the fact that this is all one shot is crazy.
And for back then, it's a big deal. Back then, the camera that you're using isn't just some little... Handycam or something like that now, an iPhone. It's a Mitchell BNCR, which is it takes 4 guys to move that camera. It's made out of cast iron. It's a giant camera with a blimp. And
a blimp?
A blimp is a soundproofing device. So you have the camera and then you've got to build a giant encasing for the camera.
Because it makes so much noise?
You don't want to hear that.
Oh, what did that look like?
I have one in my home. It's
of course you do.
Well,
that shot's incredible. I would have never. I didn't know that film existed.
I bought mine from this commercial director named Charles Wittenmeyer, and he had a massive collection of stuff, and then he liquidated everything. He just kind of cashed out of Los Angeles, and he had a warehouse full of stuff. And so I went in. And he's like, well, you can get this and you can get this. And I was like, okay, the Mitchell BNCR. And we went over to it. And he's like, this Mitchell BNCR was used, to shoot The Godfather.
So that's what it looks like with the big lid on it?
Yeah, that's basically the camera. That's the camera.
Is that
I also have some camera.
The blimp is the thing on top of it?
Yeah, the blimp is, the whole thing is a blimp. There's a smaller area
so that's
with
the camera.
With a blimp on it. The big one, the whole thing is a blimp. And when you can actually open up all of these trap doors on it to reveal the camera inside of it. And then the reels that are in, there you go. There's an opened up one.
Wow.
That one looks like it's holding an Airy on the inside, an Airy 100.
One of the things about old movies is they would let a scene cook. You had so much time before people would talk, and you just let the average daily life sort of play out.
Yeah.
And it set the tone for the film. And they don't, now it's like built for Netflix.
Well, yeah. Well, now you have a white paper that Netflix gives you, and that I think, was it Ben Affleck that was talking about it? You know, how, you've got to have a beat in the beginning, and you've got to have this and this and this and regular things. And, I mean, there was this book by Sid Field, which was a screenwriting book, that, at one hand, it gave a kind of formula on what a movie should be. By page 7, your inciting event should happen, and by page 30, the first, he had everything mapped out by page, and that eventually found its way into the hands of studio executives, and they were like, oh, now we know what a screenplay is supposed to be structured like, in order to have proper story arcs and structures and a satisfying design. And that's just the next iteration is Netflix giving you a white paper saying you have to shoot with these cameras, you have to process at these labs, you have to have, tech specs that are within this range. And that's now extending to story because they've analytically looked at what audiences are, able to process now, which is less and less, probably because of the COVID shot, completely frying their pineal glands so they can no longer pay attention to anything. And then on top of that, the mind control device of cell phones. And, with all of that, they're now like, well, how do we maintain the audience? And so you end up with white papers.
Don't you think it's options too? It's almost like if something is not really fascinating within the first 20, 30 seconds, people just want to, let's see what else is on. They just want to keep searching.
Well, there is that. I mean, there's something magical about being in a movie theater. It's, you're in this congregation.
Yeah.
Quentin always talks about how, movies are my church. Well, it is a congregation, and you're sitting in the dark next to someone you don't even know. They might have completely different ideologies, race, creed, color, like everything is different about them. And yet you're sitting in the dark next to them, having this ecstatic dream, this waking dream, sitting like insects, looking at the flicker on the screen. And you're sharing this kind of experience that you're physically trapped in. You don't get up and leave the theater, and well, you might if you have to go to the bathroom or get some popcorn or something, but they'll even bring that to you now. You're having this kind of ecstatic experience, absorbing the movie with someone you don't know, and you're sharing your bodily electricity with them. And I think this kind of this is the magic that they often talk about of movies. It's not necessarily the movie itself on screen. It's the shared experience of being next to people.
Yeah.
And that there is a kind of unseen electricity between people that unifies us. And I think that there are dark forces in the universe that are attempting to divide people up and to take that away, to take away that congregation.
Do you really think that that's by design, or you think that's just a natural function of streaming and televisions and phones and having access to things instantaneously?
I mean, I personally think that streaming was by design to eliminate residuals.
By design, but isn't it just a function of
new
technology emerging?
You notice that all of
Napster?
The executives, well, yeah, I mean, part of it is technology, but technology gets pushed and brought to the forefront for specific reasons. And, digital cinema hasn't been the greatest thing for the creative process. And I think we see that in the works that we're looking at. I mean, if you watch stuff on Netflix and whatnot, we can see that it doesn't have the same power and impact. And also, when you were making a movie, when you were making a film, on film, it was like every time you turn on the camera, you're burning money. It's like every single frame is like 4 cents or whatever the calculation was. And so that was actually an expensive part of the process. And so, there was all this preparation to get everything ready. Like, we want to get all of the props in place, right before we shoot. And the actors are in their trailer and they're figuring out what they're going to do. And then you're on your way to set and people are like, hey, I'll see you in the moment. And what they mean by that is when the cameras turn on and you actually hear that happening, suddenly everything pops into play. And suddenly you're performing in front of, what you're attempting to do is capture lightning in a bottle. And you don't even know that you have it right away. You ask your DP, like, do we have it? And it's like, oh, well, there was some dust in the frame or a hair in the frame. Let's get another one. You get another one. And like, then you hold that all in the dark, all that film, because you can't expose it, and you send it off to the lab. And then some alchemist at the lab at the castle, puts it into a potion, and the next day what comes out are these like little stained glass windows, and you watch it and you realize what you caught, and you're like, we did it. We captured something. Okay, now everything is different. You show up on set and everything's digital, and you've got producers and network executives and broadcasters, and everybody's there, studio people in Video Village, and they set up like a little tent, and everybody's sitting there in their Canadian Goose jackets on high chairs, and they're looking at a big color-corrected monitor, and there's a guy doing color correction in a van, and they're basically watching an approximation of what it's going to look like in the end. And they're sitting there. Okay, on my first film, there was none of that. I had to stand next to the camera. We didn't even have video tap. Stand next to the camera and look at the actors and see, did the actors do what I wanted them to do? And now, they just turn on the camera, and it costs more money to stop the camera and to restart it again. So you just let it roll, and you're just like letting it go. And you're like, hey, the director now is like, hey, go back, start over, and smile this time. And then they redo it. And then the editor is now like having to take those takes and separate them in the editing room. And the actors are like, suddenly the moment is gone. In other words, it's vanished. Is
there a way to do both? I mean, is it the medium of film? I mean, it seems
they're
like
different
it's
mediums.
but it's the environment as well. You're describing an environmental thing, right?
Well,
Video Village, the executives.
Well, yeah, and the problem is now suddenly you've got a chorus of people sitting there who are like, oh yeah, you got it. I saw he got it. Didn't he get it? Yeah, you got it. But you as the director still have to run back and forth to the camera and to the actors and everything, and you're like trying to keep it all in place. And look, it's neither is worse than the other.
Right.
They are both paint, but one is watercolor and one is oil paint. And those are opposingly different. If you were an oil artist during the British Renaissance of watercolor paint, where all of a sudden watercolor came out and everybody wanted watercolor, why would you try to make your, watercolor paint look like oil or vice versa? They're just completely different mediums. They're both paint, but they're different. And so digital has its advantages and its purposes. You can, because you can run like a long mag of video. I call it video. Everybody calls it digital cinema, but that was just to push it through. And actually the technology is different. With film, light travels through the glass. It travels through a gate. It exposes the silver and the acetate, and then you keep it all in the dark and send it away. With video, the light travels through the glass. It strikes the golden sensor, and then it bounces back into the glass. And that's why video or digital cinema is flatter by nature than most film, and so to combat this, filmmakers have started to do the exact opposite of what we used to do. It used to be that you would go to shoot something. You're outside. You're on set. I've got my camera on Joe, and I have the sun behind me because I want all that light on you. For the most part, I'm over exaggerating my point, and the analogy would be, or the saying would be that at the end of the day, you go home and the back of your neck is sunburned because you've always had the light behind you. Now, because the image is flatter, they rotate the camera 180 degrees and they shoot into the sun to get lens flare. And lens flare gives you the illusion of depth where there is none.
This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. The best way to learn anything is to ask questions. Be engaged, be curious, have a conversation. Whether you want to know more about a friend, start a new hobby like surfing, or figure out how your dad makes the best steak, you're not going to get any answers just sitting around. When you're hiring, It's also important to ask questions to make sure the candidate is right for your role. That's why you need ZipRecruiter. It can help connect you with people who could be a good fit. And today you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. Rated the #1 hiring site based on G2, ZipRecruiter has the features you need to find the perfect match for your role, like filters to show you who's been active recently on the site. And of course, and most importantly, you can add screening questions to your job post to make sure you're talking to people with the right skill set. Ask key questions and hire faster with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. I always thought that, like, when you would watch soap operas, I was like, why do they look so weird? And it's because they were shooting them on video instead of on film. Like when we were filming News Radio, the sitcom, we were doing it on film. And they were like really adamant about doing it on film. Like they really wanted it to be on film. And then there was some process where you could make video look like film. And I was like, this is so interesting. It's like like when you take your photo with your camera on your phone and you use portrait mode, which is you blur out the background, so you're making it shittier.
You're doing an artificial. Yeah. That's because we associate, we associate the faults of media as film. Like people think of like old movies as gate weave and sepia tone and dust and scratches and kind of fast motion. Well, when those movies were originally made, the motion was corrected by the cranking of the projector. And so it was natural motion. There was no sepia tone change. There was no dust. It was originally, and there was no gate weave because it was a fixed image. The celluloid hadn't yet shrunk or anything like that. And so we have this kind of filter, nostalgic filter that we associate with what an old movie looks like. And so if you want to make something look old, you start adding all this crap to it. You're adding the faults, and it's the faults of cinema that actually make it really good. It's not the perfection of cinema.
That's
at least in my opinion.
Because you would never be able to sell that if that cinema never existed. Like if cinema never existed and video came around and then it was normal video, like soap opera style, and then someone came along and said, hey, let's make it blurry in the background. And it's almost like we've become accustomed to the faults and nostalgically we look at them as if it's a positive. And
it's also led by, everything is shot on iPhones now. And so that's becoming the cinematic vernacular, the grammar that people are used to. And they now expect that in a big movie. And so suddenly you see something like the latest James Gunn Superman or Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and they've got these crazy wide lenses where there's no distortion and kind of infinite depth, and they're shot in a very large format. But what they're replicating is an iPhone,
right?
And it just I watched both of those movies, and I thought, okay, both of them are amazingly technically competent, and they're made by like highly professional people, but it looks like iPhone footage to me.
I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. I even loved his book, The Strain. Like it was really good till about like 3/4 of the way through, and it seemed like he just wanted to finish the book.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
Like a bunch of shit just happens in the last quarter of the book where I was like, this is kind of jarring.
It became dinner time.
Yeah, it was almost
like, I gotta put this aside. I'm gonna go
it just
eat.
seemed like, fuck, I can't keep going with this book. It's what it felt like. It felt rushed, just my opinion. But I'm a huge fan of that guy. So I love Pan's Labyrinth. I love a lot of his films. But I didn't like Frankenstein.
I love Guillermo, and I love his spirit, and I love his artistry. He is an amazing artist. He's just literally as an artist. His sketchbooks are beautiful, and he brings a great amount of passion to his work. He brings that kind of Mexican passion to his work, and I adore him as a person. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not wild about his movies that much. You didn't
like Pan's Labyrinth?
I liked parts of it, but as a whole, it just kind of and I don't know what it is, about it, but I mean, Blade 2 is probably my favorite film of his because it's like the least of well, actually, it's quite a bit of him, but it's just the most accessible for me.
I didn't know he did Blade 2. Which one was that Patton Oswalt was in, where he had the whole bit about Wesley Snipes, and then they replaced him with a cooler Wesley Snipes? Yeah. I think that was 3.
Yeah, it's probably
Blade 3. I don't remember Blade 2. I don't remember Blade 2. Blade 1 was awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's my favorite of all the comic book movies.
Yeah.
Because I was just a giant fan of the Blade comic book series.
I also like his Pacific Rim movie, and I like parts of, like, the moment in Frankenstein that I think is, for me, the entire movie. Like, I could have, like, left the rest of it. So much of it was just so melancholic and... it was just like I just couldn't engage with it. And but the part that I absolutely loved was at the Miller's house, where he's learning language. Mm-hmm. To me, that was the movie, when he's kind of secretly learning how to speak and how to be and learning morals. And to me, I could have watched an entire movie about that sequence, and it was also beautifully made, that part. Just the rest of it I could have done without.
It was just a little flat. I don't know.
And also, it's like, why does it have? It's so freaking long. Like, right. he could really like learn a lesson. Well, I was going to say he could learn a lesson from Ridley Scott, who just clips through things. Like he takes, there's a dialogue scene. I'm just going to do the essentials and just get out like it's a commercial. This dialogue scene doesn't need to be any longer than 30 seconds. And he just clips along. Somehow yet his movies are still like 2 hours long.
Well, they're so involved.
Yeah.
You know what I really loved? Nosferatu. Did you see the new Nosferatu?
No, I haven't. I don't want to sound like a persnickety guy, but I had to be in the right...
I want you to be persnickety.
I had to be in the right mood to engage with that movie because I like that guy's first movie, The Vivitch or The Witch. Mm-hmm.
I never saw that. I heard it's great, though.
I love that film. I think that's a great movie, and he's like a production designer.
He's doing a werewolf movie right now.
Yeah, of course he is.
I'm very excited.
Of course he is.
I love a good werewolf
I
movie.
did not like his Moby Dickish Lighthouse movie.
I didn't see that.
And
that was the Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, the
and
Willem
Robert
Dafoe
Pattinson
one. It was just garish and kind of, I felt like, lost its way halfway through. And and then this latest one, Nosferatu. Look, I am a Werner Herzog nut, and so I adore Werner Herzog, and I love his Nosferatu. So for me to watch this guy's version of that,
which one? Was
I have to
Werner's?
Be in the right mood. I have to be in the right mood. I just wasn't yet in the right mood to accept.
Which one is Werner's? Who plays Nosferatu?
Oh, Klaus, the incomparable Klaus Kinski. And
I know I've seen it.
I mean, the thing about Werner Herzog, when he made his Nosferatu, what's, the Murnau movie, which is the original Nosferatu, the very first one with Max Schreck.
Yeah. I saw it at the library when I was 10 years old.
So the thing about Werner Herzog as a filmmaker is that most filmmakers have their forefathers that they can look back to. They can, they have a generation before them that they can kind of imprint on. And because of the brutality and tragedy of World War II, he had none. There were no German filmmakers that he could look to. And so he had to look to his grandfather, basically, which was Murnau, when he made it. And so his film is almost like haunted by the original. And then Werner Herzog grew up not using a telephone until he was in his teens. He'd never seen a telephone before. He had grown up like in, upper Bavaria in the mountains. And, so he comes, like, his film is almost displaced in time. It's like skipped a generation. And he does things like, he'll show two actors in the most emotional part of the movie when Mina and Jonathan Harker are, at the beach and they're basically saying goodbye. And normally, in a Hollywood film, they would cut to a close-up so that we could see the tears. We would cut to that close-up. But because his film is, because he's displaced in time, he stays back. Like, he doesn't even bother shooting a close-up. To him, it's more melancholic to show them just isolated as figures, in a wide shot. And it truly is. And so his film is super powerful that way. And then you have Klaus Kinski, who is like the madman actor of German cinema, and who is who was like, I mean, there's a documentary called My Best Fiend, which is about the relationship between Herzog and Kinski. And there's an amazing scene in the beginning of that where Werner Herzog visits the apartment that he rented in, I think it was in Berlin, that where he was first becoming a filmmaker and where he first met Klaus Kinski. And he goes there, and it's now occupied by these two, just very conservative, this German couple. And he starts going through the house and saying, oh, yes, here, this is where Klaus, went crazy, and he started smashing it and shitting on the walls, and like, because he was an insane guy. He was like, his whole thing was about provocation. And so he brings a kind of crazy vampire. I mean, it feels like a real vampire.
I remember it now, but I haven't seen it forever. What year was that?
You mean the Kinski one?
Yes.
I think it was in the 70s, so I'm thinking it was like 78 or 79, maybe even earlier.
I know I've seen all of the Nosferatus. Let me see. Give me a.
I will eventually see this
Werner
new.
Herzog's
I will eventually see this new one.
It's fucking good, man. It's good. The dude who plays the vampire, what's his name? The guy who played the clown in It.
Bill Skarsgård.
Oh yeah, Bill Skarsgård.
He's so good.
Well,
he's so good. So is this the scene when he meets the vampire?
I don't know. I just clicked on it.
Yeah, this.
Oh, he cuts.
Well,
this
is
yeah. This is it.
This is. I mean, that's. I mean, Kinski brings just an amazing, deep empathy.
It could give you blood poisoning.
Oh, this is the English version.
Please, let me do it. It's the oldest remedy in the world.
Oh, forget it. It's hardly worth mentioning. Just a little cut.
You know, it's only for the best.
The original German, in German, yeah, it's incredible.
That's so awesome.
And that's probably Kinski, like, they're supposed to cut, and Kinski just keeps going.
And look at him.
Yeah, I mean, Bruno Ganz, I think it's Bruno Ganz, is probably terrified in real life because he doesn't know. Kinski's crazy enough where he'll bite him.
Right. And he's got those fake teeth in.
Yeah.
Let's sit up for a while.
All right, show me a clip from the new one. You got to see the new Nosferatu.
I mean, I had never seen a vampire like that, and then I think Salem's Lot was made after the TV movie.
Yeah, Salem's Lot was super similar to it.
Yeah.
There's a scene when he meets the guy at the castle.
I did see one scene from this online with Lily Rose Depp reacting to something which was like very compelling.
Go full screen to this. This is when he makes it into the castle. It's really dark, man. He did a fantastic job of like capturing the creepiness of it and also the surreal aspect of him being under the trance of this vampire. You recognize that reality is all fucked up and skewed. Like time passes very quickly. It doesn't make sense. He's super confused as to what's going on.
I mean, I have to say, this movie feels haunted by the Herzog version as Herzog was haunted by the Murnau version. As if it's a continuation. For
right.
me. It would be like, I encourage anybody to like enjoy all three of them, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if he was haunted by that or I wonder if he was haunted by the original. But this is with the use of all...
the little step frame.
Modern ability, yeah. But it's just the way they made the castle and the way they made him is very unique. There's so many aspects of it that I thought were very unique. Even the way the vampire feeds on people is unique.
This guy he's a very, very, very good filmmaker. I just...
You are late. The midnight hour has passed, and my attendants have all died.
I don't know so much about the way he's talking.
It's weird, but it grows on you.
Yeah.
It grows on you.
Well, I'm sure it has a haunting quality over time.
Yeah, like this. The guy just disappears, and all of a sudden he's way far away. There's a lot of that in this movie. So the scene when they get him to sign papers, when he's get up to that.
Questions about the
right there.
We yet keep close many superstitions here that may seem backward to a young man of your high learning.
Sure, Prince Charles was like jacking off to this film.
Before they made that painting.
Well, he apparently he visits Castle Dracula every year.
Well, isn't he related to Vlad Tepes?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, he's German. He's of German ancestry. So
I think Prince Charles is related to the original Vlad the Impaler.
That would track.
So you can go further ahead, so that
would track with the whole baby eating thing.
They give you a look of what he looks like.
I think it cuts off probably.
They don't want to give away too much. That was the other thing. Like, you don't really get to get a look at him for quite a while, and when you do, it's horrifying.
Yeah, and the movie is made in washes of darkness.
Mm-hmm. It's very dark. I mean, it's very much a candlelit movie, which I like because I don't like a film where you're pretending that people are in a candlelit, but it's really well lit.
Well, and that's an example of where video actually is a better medium to choose, because it like digital loves darkness, and it can do things in darkness that film just doesn't have the capacity to do.
Right.
And so it's an excellent choice. When we did Silent Hill, we made the choice of whenever we're in the dark, we're shooting on digital, and whenever it's during daylight, we're shooting on film to create a kind of dissonance between the two. And so, and that's largely because digital loves dark. And this is a great use of it. I'm warming up to it. I've been waiting. I bought it on Blu-ray. I have the movie. I mean, I keep it. It's in that stack, and I've just been waiting for the right time to expose myself to it. Where I'm in the right mood.
I loved it. I'm no film expert, but it's my favorite vampire movie ever.
Well, that's actually saying a lot. That's incredible.
I loved it.
That's incredible.
A fun vampire movie is 30 Days of Night.
Yeah, 30 Days of Night is great.
I love that one too. But it's not as good as this. This is a better movie.
I think I Am Legend is actually a pretty good vampire movie. The one with Will Smith.
Well, I thought they were zombies.
Well, they're kind of, it's a contagion film technically. They're not really zombies, but they've been turned into like vampire-like creatures. They're in that film. That's a really good one. And then that one that. What's his name? Taitiki Wakatakalakalaka. That Polynesian director who did the Thor movie did. God, what was it called? The We Are. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a comedy version of vampires, like kind of all living in a house and sort of.
How old was that?
This was made sometime in the mid 2000s, I think.
Vampires living in a house?
What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows.
Did you see that?
Nope.
That is an incredible vampire movie. It's
really?
Kind of like a mockumentary, like where they're but it takes all of the kind of vampire mythology and it makes it really, really fun.
I've never even heard of this.
It's fantastic. This is his best film. This is, I'm sure, the foundation of everything he's done has been on What We Do, for me, What We Do in the Shadows.
Huh. That's so crazy. I never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Show me the trailer, Jamie. We are granted protection by the subjects in this film. Oh, it's like a Blair Witch Project type deal.
It's been like this the whole time, Deacon, on dishes, and it still hasn't moved in 5 years. You're a cool guy, but you're not pulling your weight in the flat.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that I'm cool.
No, that's not the point, though.
Yeah,
You're missing
I
the
know.
point.
Not a flat meeting about how cool you are.
When you get 3 vampires in a flat, obviously there's going to be a lot of tension.
Viago was an 18th century dandy.
Look, a ghost cop. Vladislav is a bit of a pervert.
This is my torture chamber.
Deacon's like the young bad boy of the group.
I'm supposed to pay rent, but I don't.
The trouble with being a vampire is you have to be invited in.
Will you invite us in? We need some fresh blood.
The whole movie's like that. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's funny. Will you invite us in?
Just invite us in. The bouncer's like, no. And they can't do anything about it because they're vampires.
Let the right one in.
Oh, okay. That is, of all the modern vampire movies, I mean, I haven't seen the, what's his name, Eggers?
The American version of it?
No, I hate the American version. The American version is, Let Them In is terrible. I had to wash my eyes afterwards with another movie.
I didn't mind it.
I hated but because I loved
the foreign version. Which country was it from?
I think it's Sweden.
Sweden. It's really good.
It's an outstanding film, and the book is fabulous as well. It's an amazing novel.
Yeah, I just love a good horror movie, a well-made horror movie, because like the suspension of disbelief is like inherent to the enjoyment of the film. Like just. Show me how the guy turns into a monster.
Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah. Make it so.
Yeah.
Make it so. And also you can see, they have been making Dracula movies again and again and again. It seems like every year there's another vampire movie coming out, or every couple of years at least. And, there never seems to be the market never seems to be exhausted by it. You know, it's zombie movies. They continue making them. It's like.
That's the most overused genre is zombie films. Zombie films, zombie TV shows. I mean, how many versions of The Walking Dead are there? There's multiple.
And I'm not a big fan of the
beginning was great. I think first season
when it started,
of The Walking
but then
Dead was great.
when I realized, it's just sadism. And I get the point. After the first season, I realized, the point is that the Walking Dead are the living. Right. They're actually the Walking Dead. Yeah. Because they've become emotionally.
I didn't like it. When it got into the point where it was just murder porn.
Yeah. And that, I think I even talked about this before, that that's a real problem with television, is that they're just trying to get the serotonin levels spiked by killing someone that you care about. Mm-hmm. And, real television you return because you love the characters and you want to return to it.
Well, sometimes it's done well. Like Game of Thrones did a fantastic job of doing that.
But even that kind of lost its way after a while. I mean,
they
actually
had like 8 seasons. I'm rewatching it right now. We're actually on season 3 right now. It's fucking great. I kind of forgot how great it was. But when you get to binge it and you don't have to wait, like there was years in between seasons because it took so long to produce.
Have you seen the Pendragon cycle? The Rise of the Merlin?
No.
Okay, so these days, you almost don't know where to find television, and that's because you can find it anywhere. The mainstay producers of it, the studios and everything, they're no longer reliable in producing quality television, and so suddenly we see stuff rising, out of places that is completely unexpected, and this was produced by the Daily Wire. Of all people. Yes. And the CEO of the Daily Wire directed it. This guy, Jeremy Boring.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. His name is Boring. But
and this is good?
Okay. This is better than it's I have a very high watermark for Arthurian mythology. Like, to me, Excalibur is the high watermark. And this really went there. I had a chip on my shoulder when I started watching this. I was like, okay, this is very unlikely that I'm going to enjoy this production. But they did it for a micro budget, effectively. They made something that is absolutely kind of reinvents the mythology, and they do it like proper television, where you kind of love the characters, and they weave an entire reality and universe that is just fantastic. And it's done for for very, very little. They're spending billions making these Lord of the Rings things, and like nobody cares. They're just awful to watch. And in the meantime, these guys just, without anybody paying attention, cranked this out. And I've only seen 4 episodes of it, but I am like completely blown away by it.
That's so interesting.
The
because
Daily
I haven't
Wire.
heard anything about it. I think that's part of the problem.
Well,
is
that's
the
because
Daily Wire.
we don't hear about a lot of things, and
Right.
media is the least of it.
Well, right. Good point. But certainly with the Daily Wire, the problem is it's like associated with this right-wing production
If you can
company.
get over that and put that behind you, then this is, to me, as good as classic television.
My prejudice was initially, they're gonna somehow or another embed right-wing ideology in this.
Everybody's embedding their own ideology. Whenever you make any media, there's usually you have corporate propaganda and personal propaganda, and usually there was a balance between the two. If you're making Midnight Express, for example, okay, that movie was nothing like the book at all.
Really?
And not even close to the book. And it's a complete alternate experience. And you wonder, why was that movie such a big success? Why was that movie such a overwhelmingly like Oscars and everything? Okay, I think it had a little bit more to do with the politics of what was going on with Turkey at that time than anything else. And what's his name? Billy Hayes, who experienced it and lived it, spent the rest of his life basically apologizing for the movie. And
why?
Because none of it, he wasn't like raped in a Turkish prison, and that's like
the original.
That's like a joke
who wrote
that
the
gets
book. Right.
In Airplane they're making jokes about it.
Right.
And so Billy Hayes, he was the actual character or the person who lived the experience. And so the movie is a kind of propaganda element, and that's like all Hollywood does it. You kind of accept whenever you're making a movie that you're being used in a certain level to do something, whether it's to, on a very basic level, whether it's just to mortify or scare audiences, or to do things. And we see that more and more obviously in media as the director. The personal propaganda, when you have something personal that you want to get on screen, has become more and more diminished, and you have sort of more corporate propaganda kind of taking over. And I think the most probably crass example of that is DEI stuff, in movies, and pushing characters in situations that are just completely out of whack.
Did you see the Star Trek that they tried to make like that?
Okay, I'm like a big Star Trek guy. I watch Star Trek every day in my house. We watch like 2 or 3 episodes, and I'm not kidding. My wife is like a Trekkie. She is like crazy for Star Trek. And so she puts Star Trek on, like at around 5 o'clock, Star Trek comes on.
Original?
Well,
or Picard.
We cycle through. We go chronologically from the original series through the Next Generation, and then DS9, and then Voyager, and then Enterprise, and then we loop back to. And sometimes, when you show an episode like in DS9, there's an episode called Trials and Tribulations, where all the characters go into the past and they kind of interact with Trouble with Tribbles, and they kind of blend them into the set and everything that's happening. We'll then go back and watch Trouble with Tribbles, or same thing with Wrath of Khan. We'll do this, So we'll kind of connect it all together. And so, but every day there's at least 2 or 3 episodes of Star Trek playing in my house. It's like I usually have to wrestle away the controller to say we're watching a movie now. And my children were like basically raised on Star Trek, and the sort of morals behind Star Trek, and and people complain about, I don't like DS9 as much. It's not as dynamic. I hate Bajor and blah, blah, blah. But I think Captain Sisko is one of the most amazing captains there is, because he's also a father, and there's all these like father-son lessons that are going on throughout it. It's like really elaborate television. And by the way, all that kind of DEI stuff is still in it. It's still there. They're exploring all sorts of things in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Riker, who's like the second in command to Picard. In that one, there's an episode where he goes to a planet of neuters that are just, they have one gender. And he falls in love with one, and they kind of waken up out of their single gender thing and realize, I'm female. And that person then gets taken and reprogrammed. And then there's an episode where Quark is turned into a woman in order for some cockamamie reason that they come up with in the show. And he kind of likes it. He's like getting into it. So it's not like they aren't exploring gender, and
they're not just beating you over the head with it.
It's somehow integrated into good storytelling. And I think something happened at the studios where they fired all of the legacy people and they hired on a bunch of new people who just weren't as good at storytelling or as respectful of the canon, I guess you could say,
right,
is what it was. But, those seasons of Star Trek are, which I guess you could call from the Gene Roddenberry into the Rick Berman era. And I mean, they had such amazing writers. They had guys like Renee Echevarria and Naren Shankar, and they had technical advisors. And, so if you were just into the tech, you could really and most of our technology and most of our aspirations have come from Star Trek. Our telephones are basically, like tricorders,
yeah.
And we're all, and when we see it on Star Trek, like, we talk to the computer. Well, I want to have that, and so somebody figures out a way to develop that and to make it so, and now we have that.
Didn't he actually say computer?
Yeah,
he would say computer and
computer.
ask it a question.
Yeah, well, hey Siri,
hey Siri, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow.
And so it's I think it's a fantastic show, and then this dweeb Alex Kurtzman comes along and just shits all over everything, just like craps all over it. And I went in and met with the guy. I was like, hey, I will write for scale. I'll write on your new show. I just want to be part of it.
Just as an opportunity to work on Star Trek.
And I basically found out he didn't want anybody who had any kind of fondness for the original show. He wanted to do something new and to create something new. And boy, has he shit the bed, like in a big way. And this latest thing that they've made, this Starfleet Academy, now it's still ongoing. Maybe it writes itself at some point.
I think they canceled it.
Did they? Good.
The newest.
Good. They read the room.
Version.
They read the room. Finally.
Is it? If they stop the idea of a season 2?
That fucking Alex Kurtzman, man. His company's called Secret Hideout, I think. He's going to need a secret hideout after all these, after destroying Star Trek for this latest generation.
Are we talking about the newest one, the one with Tig Notaro? That's the newest one.
Starfleet Academy?
Starfleet Academy is an abomination.
Is that what you're talking about?
I could not get. Yes, I could not get through 3 episodes of Discovery, and they're just it is just awful storytelling.
Well, it's also clunky dialogue and bad acting,
just horrible. And they're more interested in the corporate propaganda than they are with any kind of personal propaganda.
Right. It seems like that's the imperative. It's like they get across this inclusive concept.
The card was terrible. It was sad, actually. It was just depressing for me. And so when
it's so
Seth,
bad.
what's his name, did that show, The Orville, and that is the proper successor. They brought back guys like James Conroy.
But I don't know what The Orville is.
It was kind of like a comedy version Seth MacFarlane did, but he hired all the original people that they had fired from Star Trek and basically used them to do his show. And it actually feels a little bit more like a continuation.
I've never heard of this either. And it's on Hulu?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a Star Trek, or is it?
No, it's not Star Trek. It's the Orville.
So they just ripped off Star
They
Trek?
basically just ripped off Star Trek, and they have a sort of like tongue-in-cheek quality, but they bring all the writers from the original and showrunners and people like that, and the original directors like like Jim God, I'm like blanking on his name. I want to say Conroy, but I think it's whatever. So they bring everybody back, and it has a little bit more of the same spirit. Another really good Star Trek-ish thing is Galaxy Quest. It's something that got kind of buried and with
Sigourney Weaver?
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, that was good.
Galaxy Quest is hilarious. If you love the original series of Star Trek, Galaxy Quest is amazing. It's so fantastic.
I love Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
She's one of my all-time favorites. That's a good example of a movie that was like a DEI movie that you never even noticed it, was Alien.
Yeah.
Like you have a female lead, and you never think about it that
like
she's
we
the
didn't
hero.
have like powerful women in
Right.
movies before. We've
Right.
like had them throughout history.
Right.
The history of cinema is built on, and by the way, a complex woman character can have faults.
Right.
Like that's part of it is characters have faults. Characters have things wrong with them. They're not always just,
dominant and noble.
Dominant and like can do everything immediately.
Right. Exactly. Like some of the Star Wars ones that went woke. There was a few of those.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny. You had, I think it was here. Ben Affleck was on, and they were talking about AI and how it always goes to the middle, and it always goes to the middle. It always goes to the middle, and I was like, J.J. Abrams always goes to the middle, and boy, was that Star Wars he did the middle, where he just basically took the Luke Skywalker story and just reinterpreted it with a strong woman, character. And I just thought it was bland and just tasteless and just, nothing new. He just went to the middle. So you don't need AI to go to the middle.
This episode is brought to you by Visible. Folks, there's one thing nobody wants this season, and that's getting catfished. And it's not just dating profiles that are putting you at risk. It's also big wireless carriers. You know the type. Looks great at first, promises a low price, but once you're locked in, surprise fees and an expensive bill that isn't what you were expecting. Your knight in shining armor? Visible Wireless. It's one-line wireless with unlimited data and hotspot for just $25 a month, taxes and fees included. Now that's a green flag. The best part, Visible is all digital, so you can switch as fast as you can swipe. Don't fall for the trap of getting catfished by wireless. Visit Visible.com to learn more and start loving your wireless carrier. Terms apply. See Visible.com for plan features and network management details. No, no, you just need a mandate. And the thing about Alien, too, is like, you didn't know who the hero was.
Alien 2 or Alien? You mean Aliens?
As well. I mean, Alien 1. I didn't like Aliens 2 as much. It was fun, but it was like, why are they so easy to kill now? Why are they so obvious?
They were, Space Marines, and Marines are tough. Marines are badass, and Marines can but
the first Alien,
but those aliens, they still
clever.
Overwhelmed them.
I know, but the first Alien was clever. He was hiding. He would sneak around. He would jump. You didn't get to see much of it, and that was also cool, too, because it kind of captured you with the suspense.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
Ever. And it's a 1979 movie, too,
yeah.
which is crazy. People don't even know how old it is.
Well, it's funny. I recently went back and started watching all the Ridley Scott movies I hadn't seen. Like there's a ton of them that I just, kind of missed along the way. And I started off with... God, what was it? I started off with Napoleon, and because I just missed it when it came out, and I'm like, what happened to Ridley Scott? And I have not liked any of his recent Alien movies. I just think I'm confused by them, to be honest. The
Prometheus ones.
It's just like when you need a web episode in order to understand what the hell he's talking about in the movie, you failed. And they're just like, they're technical marvels. Like nobody shoots big canvas cinema like Ridley Scott. Like no one shoots a helicopter crashing like Ridley Scott shoots a helicopter crashing. And you watch Napoleon, and Sure, the Battle of Austerlitz, amazing to watch. Cannonballs going into the lake and the ice breaking and people falling in the water. But the minute anybody talks in that movie, it just collapses on its own weight. It's just like, you just don't care. My wife was like, this is the worst date movie. You're not going to sleep with me after this.
What's wrong with it? I didn't see it.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix, and I think he made a choice because I consider him to be an excellent actor. But in this movie, I think he made a choice to just play it like, contemporary, like he just kind of talks. Everybody else is doing sort of a British or Frenchish accent. Like they're all kind of pretending that they're in a period piece, but not Joaquin Phoenix. He just plays it like he just, walked off Hollywood Boulevard.
Really?
And just like the battle scene, there's no passion in any of his performance. It's kind of this weird, dead performance. And so
he did it on purpose to portray like a sociopath.
I think he came on. He was like, I am going to do whatever I want to do the way Napoleon would, and I'm not going to try. I'm a Corsican, and I'm going to be an outsider to all of these other people who were. I think there was an intellectual idea behind what he did, and it completely failed. And so I'm like, okay, I adore watching Ridley Scott do these big scenes, but what a terrible movie. And, like failure. And then so then after that, I'm like, okay, let's watch something else. Well, he did Exodus. I've never seen that. Gods and Kings with Christian Bale. Same thing. It's like you start watching that movie and there's some interesting things in the film. He's got like chariot battles and, archers shooting things. And like, whenever he's doing that, like Ridley Scott's like, oh, this is my day on set. And he's got a cigar and 20 cameras, put cameras everywhere. And he's like, shoot from every angle. And he's like a great general, shooting. But the minute anybody talks, that movie falls apart. And actually, I mean, I don't know how to say this, but that movie almost did its best to turn me on the Jews. Like I'm watching it and I'm like, this is like, first of all, is anybody even Jewish making this? Like, it seems like nobody involved in it was Jewish. And like, they start like,
how is that even possible?
Well, Moses as a character, when he's an Egyptian, when he's like the adopted Egyptian brother, I'm like totally with him for some reason. And then he becomes Moses after getting like hit in the head with a rock. And all of a sudden he's, he's like a lunatic, and like you're like everybody's following him, like he's distasteful all of a sudden, but every now and then they would show a battle scene, and it's like okay, I can like Ridley Scott's doing his thing again, but like, and who's also really good in it is I can't remember, Joel Edgerton, who plays Ramses. It's really funny because Joel Edgerton is, usually you imagine Egyptians when they're cast as being kind of tall and, sort of noble looking and everything. He's kind of like this butch, like sort of tough, wide-bodied butch Ramses, like just kind of like a tough Ramses. And every now and then his Australian accent comes out. And so he's like, he's like an Australian Ramses. And John Turturro plays his father, a bald. I'm like, is that John Turturro? Like, what a crazy choice this is. And so there were all sorts of like interesting things going on in the movie. But again, I was like, this is awful.
Is it impossible for you to watch a movie without just becoming hypercritical about all these different aspects, like how I would do it, what I don't like?
Yes and no. So the next Ridley Scott movie I watched, which I stayed away from, and with great apologies to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, was The Last Duel. And I just kind of avoided it. I was doing other things at the time, and the poster looked awful, and I was like, I'm not going to go see that. And then I put it on after watching these other two, and I was like, okay, well, here we go. Let's go again. And lo and behold, one of the best films of the century, in my opinion.
Really?
Absolutely. First of all, those guys know how to write a script. And I know that they wrote it with Nicole Hofstadter or whatever her name is. And look at Ben Affleck. Like when I saw him blonde, I was like, that's one of the reasons it kept me away from it. But he's hilarious in the movie. He's a genius in the film.
I never even heard about this movie.
I was gripped by this film. And this is a great date movie. Like this, my wife got turned on after this film. Believe it or not.
That's hilarious. I don't know anything about
And
this
Adam
movie.
Driver is magnificent, and like this relationship that these two guys have, and it's kind of a Rashomon story, meaning that like Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon, which was 3 stories that are all sort of the same event told from different perspectives. And Matt Damon is like a revelation. And this movie says so much about Hollywood. Like when I watched this, I was like, okay, I'm Matt Damon and Quentin is Adam Driver for sure. Like Adam Driver totally knows how to like, you learn about Hollywood in this film, and I'm sure they're writing it like knowing about Hollywood, that the way to really get along in court is to join the orgies. You know, to be in the orgy with everybody is like how you get along. It's like we all fuck together, and that's how we do it. But Matt Damon, who by all accounts in this is a great, you know, he's a fighter. He's a great knight. He's true in his heart, but he's just like a pill to hang out with, and he doesn't go to the orgies. And because of that, he's just kind of marginalized. And the whole movie plays off of this friendship that just kind of goes awry, where jealousy comes into play, and it's ruinous to everything until they're finally fighting in the very end. And this is where Ridley Scott just does what he does, which is he has this insane fight between these two guys, which like was just, every blow was painful to look at. And this, to me, was the best Ridley Scott movie I've seen of the century. I mean, I guess Black Hawk Down. I also very much like Gladiator, although Gladiator 2, I throw that in.
I never saw that.
Throw that in with Exodus, Gods and Monsters. It was actually boring to watch.
I loved Gladiator 1, though.
Gladiator 1 is magnificent. It had some kind of secret sauce in it that was fantastic. And Gladiator 2, it just kind of goes through the paces. It's just kind of everybody shows up. Speaking of showing up, when Sigourney Weaver shows up in Exodus, Gods and Monsters, she's not even trying at all. She knows that she's there for a paycheck. Like, she just shows up and she's just like, does not put on an accent of any kind. She just shows up and just speaks the lines, and then I'm out of here. I'm going into Morocco or whatever, into town. I'm going to go party for a while.
Do you think she just thought it was a bad film and just checked out?
I'm not sure what she was thinking, but like she may have been thinking what, I mean, maybe she was trying, but it just didn't look like it. It just looked like she was.
Well, that's got to be a weird
so
thing when an actor makes a choice with a character and it just doesn't work, and they don't realize it, but they're committed to it.
And the other Ridley Scott movie that I just watched that I hadn't seen, again, I avoided it partly because of the title of the film, and there's just nothing excited me. I thought it was a comedy. In fact, I'd been avoiding it. It was on my Plex. There it is. I look at the thing. It looks like a comedy. It's got Javier Bardem and Cameron Diaz, and they're all kind of Javier Bardem looking exactly like Robert Downey Jr. Like in it, like just kind of this crazy Robert Downey Jr. in his crazy phase, you know, with like colorful glasses and everything. Robert Downey Jr. with like a broken up nose or whatever's going on with that nose. And okay, so I put on The Counselor, and this movie. So looking at that, I thought this was a comedy. I thought, oh, it's going to be
totally looks like
a romantic comedy. This movie, after I saw it, I was like, I feel like I've seen too much. I feel like I know too much now about the world. Like it's made like right before, you know, and I think this movie was kind of a disaster for Ridley Scott, and he, you know, had to recover from it probably because of the failure of it. But
I never even heard of it.
It's written by oh my God, Cormac McCarthy, and so it is dark, and it is an analysis of how power works in the modern world, which is basically a giant cartel. The cartel runs everything, and you cannot escape the cartel. And it is such a I think that's such a spectacular movie. I loved it. I loved it.
When did that come out?
Like 2014, I think.
2013.
2013.
Did you ever hear of it, Jamie?
I don't think so.
There's too much content.
Well, there's too much content, and yet Ridley Scott, and he's cranking out movies like every year. He's doing a movie. It's like just knocking him back. He's constantly making films, and so that was why I hadn't. And so finally, I was like, well, I got to catch up on some Ridley Scott. And Quentin had been talking about Black Hawk Down and how much he loved it and how he thought it was the best film of the century. And you know, he's largely correct. That's not a bad. I could have done without the UNICEF commercial at the very beginning, where it's just like, you know, little UNICEF commercial about people starving in Africa and Somalia. But the rest of the movie is just insanely beautiful. And so I wanted to check out all the movies I hadn't seen of his. And so that's why I started researching them and looking them up again. And like The Counselor, how did that fall through the cracks? And it gets terrible reviews. Like people hated the film, apparently. And
what's the criticism?
People I think they were just like, we don't believe it. And, they just don't believe that that's what the world is like. And, I found the film to be like,
do you think that's just because of the time period it was released?
Yeah,
I think there was no more innocent.
I think Ridley Scott knows things and Cormac McCarthy know things about the world that they put on film before everything was known. Like, I think if that milk was released today, people would be like, yeah, that's what's happening today.
Yeah.
And so, they're putting people in sulfuric acid into milk, into drums.
What the fuck?
And shipping them around the world, as a joke.
That's in the film?
Yeah, there's all sorts.
Did you see the thing in the Epstein files?
Oh yeah, like those,
they
those
ordered...
Epstein files. In fact, I can't believe that. Like everybody just kind of like, oh, okay, and they're moving on with their lives. Did you see that guy at the Atlanta airport flipping out, the well-dressed black dude who just freaks out in the Atlanta just like a couple of days ago? I saw it on YouTube, and I saw it on Twitter or X, and this guy's just freaking out in the Atlanta airport. He's like, I read the Epstein files. Like, all of you're going about your lives like nothing's happening. Look, you're all zombies. And he's right. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Everybody is just numb to everything. Like, dudes, we had a global pandemic, aliens, all these like revelations. People are, eating babies.
This is the guy.
And there's a longer version of that where he's basically like, you're all acting like nothing's happening. Like, what the fuck? You're all just pretending you're just drones going on in your normal lives.
People are waiting for a condensed version that lays out all the facts. It's the people that are like really interested in reading all the emails.
I think the Luciferians cast a spell on the world. And,
for real?
Oh, absolutely. It's just like how vampires can't go into a house unless they're invited. They tell you, what's going on ahead of time. It's predictive programming. And once you say it out loud and you put it out there and make fun of it and do a little skit like Stephen Colbert did a little skit on his show where, oh, here's a baby. I'm going to take this baby and I'm going to give it to Moloch. And he goes into like a cloudy red, furnace and hands the baby over. And he's, oh, the baby's going to be fine. And they make a joke about it and the audience laughs. Okay, we're all now conditioned to it. We've all seen it. And by laughing at it, we're complicit.
You think that's on purpose, that this is like some sort of a grand design to get us to be desensitized to the idea of demons eating babies?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
For sure. And by the way, nobody's doing anything about it. We know what's happening.
But that has to take, there has to be a person or some group of people.
Yeah, like about 8,500 people. Yeah.
That are manipulating the Colbert Show?
That are manipulating everything. It's all an illusion. Like, reality as we know it is fake. That's the revelation that guy is having. And he's looking around and he's like, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, the thing about the emails is, one of the things is it's just stuff written down. And so that's sort of hard to digest. Like, what is this? Like, what are they saying? Like, some of it is in code, like walking over beef jerky. Like talking about jerky, could you walk beef jerky over to this person? Like, what does that mean?
For all this pizza they're talking about,
right.
You never see any pizza.
Right. Yeah. They're ordering pizza.
I'm going to get some grape soda. It's like with my cheese pizza.
Yeah.
And like, there's all this coded language, and everyone's like, oh, that's you just have pareola. You're just seeing things where you want to see them.
No, there's clearly a code. Well, that was the thing about Pizzagate.
It's absolutely a code. And in fact, mundus vult decipi, ergo decipiatur. It's a long-known concept. And so in Latin, mundus vult decipi means the world wants to be deceived. Ergo decipiatur. Therefore, it is. We want to be deceived. We don't want to believe the horrors that are actually behind the veil.
Well, I think with the Epstein files, people are, because of these emails that have been released, people are just now starting to be aware of the bizarreness of the code and some of the things, like the facts. Like, let's just talk about the sulfuric acid. So this was like right after he was indicted in 2018.
Yeah, I got to get rid of some bodies.
Yeah.
I got
How much did
dissolve up some bodies.
What did it say he ordered? Like, let's
like 8,000 gallons.
Half dozen 55
maybe we can
gallon
get our
containers.
sponsor Perplexity to process this and give us a synopsis of what exactly happened, some sort of a breakdown. Because one of the things they're saying is like he was indicted, and then right after he's indicted, he orders how many gallons?
6 55-gallon containers full of sulfuric acid.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. What?
They're eating babies, man. Like that's
Do you think so that you think is real? So
well, yeah. Not only that, I think that there's sacrifices going on every day in Los Angeles. I mean, allegedly, like high level musicians, let's say, high level female musician is like killing chickens every day, doing sacrifices, like
high level.
Well, I don't want to say. I don't want to say names because I don't want to get sued, and I don't want to be dead either.
What does it rhyme like?
Here's the purchase order. I started looking at the comments for some stuff. Not that this is the best answer, but a quick answer someone gives is that this could be for like a reverse osmosis water treatment system.
It's true. He is on an island.
He's on an island.
I mean, there's enough pushback because mundus vult decipi, ergo decipiatur. But like the timing of all of that, where are the purchase orders for all of that sulfuric acid before then? Oh, no, I just want to put sulfuric acid into my swimming pool, muriatic acid.
Well, that's the question. Was there orders for sulfuric acid before this? If they do have a water treatment plant, how does sulfuric acid play into water treatment?
It says it here. It says it's commonly used. This explains it. I don't fucking know.
Okay. It says RO plant, reverse osmosis seawater desalination facility. Sulfuric acid is commonly used in the maintenance of such facilities. Not everything you don't understand adds up to the worst possible thing it could be. Deception.
Look, maybe they're all eating pizza and grape soda. Who
is that guy that's
How
saying
many
this?
billionaires do you know that sit down and eat lots of pizza and grape soda and ice cream?
This is weird.
And
a trial
gonna
lawyer
get me some
saying
chicken.
this.
That's why I just go with grain of salt. This is just a plausible answer. I don't know that it is the answer. It could even be wrong.
Okay, so does he have a desalination plant on the island?
Oh, it's a reverse.
Oh yeah,
osmosis.
for sure. He is a. He had everything. He had a dump and like they had all sorts of stuff.
So that's
tunnels and.
So they were using that. So they were taking seawater and converting it into fresh water for what? For irrigation or for drinking? For all the above?
One similar email that he wrote to someone said that like around his island is like Damascus, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He was like, you go explore buried shit around my island, or what? I mean, what else could he mean by that?
Huh? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I mean, they say a lot of things, and they're not really coding it very much.
Well, the code, it's glaringly obvious when they say pizza and when they say jerky. That's glaringly obvious. How do you walk jerky?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And why do I need a chilled container to, a chilled bag or whatever they say?
Jesus Christ.
And
so you think they're eating babies?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely believe that.
You should get together with Kurt Metzger. You two would go crazy.
I don't doubt it for a second. Well, I think this dates back like, a long, long time. This is Moloch worship.
Oh, well, there was the other email that said, thank you for the torture video. I enjoyed the torture video.
Yeah. And it's like people just, they don't want to accept it. Like people don't want to believe it. They don't want to accept it.
Okay, some commentary notes that a remote island with water treatment and energy systems could plausibly stockpile such quantities for 1 to 2 years of operations, although others argue that using it directly for reverse osmosis, as stated in one social post, is technically questionable for membrane health. Highly corrosive, strong mineral acid that can severely burn skin, eyes, dehydrate, and char organic material, which is why it features in both legitimate industrial processes and in darker hypotheticals online.
Darker hypotheticals.
Darker hypotheticals is where I'm leaning.
Yeah.
When you get indicted for sex trafficking and then you order 6 drums of sulfuric acid right away, are you really worried about your reverse osmosis plant right after you get indicted? I feel like you're going to jail.
If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
It's probably a duck. 330 gallons of sulfuric acid.
It says this was the only documented purchase order for it.
I came out here last time and I talked about the pedo cult inside of the Kubrick film.
Yes, by the way, that went viral,
and I got so much blowback from that. The online critics are like, no, there's nothing in there. Mundus Vult Decipi. They don't want to see it. They don't want to see those 2 guys walking away with that girl in the end. They just like, well, no, it wasn't in the Schnitzler novel and blah blah blah. I mean, dude, look at that movie. It's about a cult. Like, what are you talking about? It's a secret cult. And in fact, Sidney Lumet's character even says at one point, do you know what these people do? I'm not going to tell you what they do, but let me tell you, if I told you what they do, they would like scare the hell out of you. I mean, like, that's after he's been to the place and seen everybody walking around in the sex club. I mean, there's obviously more going on in that movie, but people don't want to see it. I had, what was it, New York Magazine or whatever, went so far as to like, aggressively trying to get me to debunk it. And which is fine. It's just an interpretation of a movie.
Right, but that interpretation resonated. I mean, that clip went very, very viral.
Especially now. It's like people are like looking at it and they're like, well, he was obviously saying something. Even if you extract that out of the movie, he's obviously saying something about people at high levels of power.
Well, there's always been weird secret groups and rituals.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ways to ensure that you're compromised. You'll stay.
It's a confidence operation.
Yes.
And so what you do is you find somebody when they're young and they're, less inhibited and they, or uninhibited, and you catch them doing something that is illegal, and maybe you even provide the mechanism for that to happen. And then once it's happened, you now have the video proof or the audio proof or whatever proof you have. You've got proof of it, and you show it to them, and you say, "Look, this is what we have on you, and we can ruin you at any minute. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you $20,000 a month, or we're going to give you $20 million a year, whatever level that is, instead, and you're going to work for us." And what else explains some of these people who are so flipped out about about Trump? Like, he's a putz. He's it's over the top. It's it's strange how people behave in regarding that. It's bizarre.
But don't you think that's also just because the Democratic Party didn't want him to get into power because he was a complete outsider?
I don't think there are parties. I don't think there. I think that's all an illusion also. I think everything that you think that it is an illusion. It's all fake. I don't think that any history before 1600, I think everything has been falsified before the year 1600.
How so?
Well, there's this guy, Anatoly Fomenko, who's a Russian mathematician and historian. And he wrote a book called The New Chronology. It's actually a series of books. It's like 6 volumes, and I've read them all. And and also his addendum book, The New Chronology. He has an addendum book about it. And he basically says that all of history has been changed. About 1,000 years have been added to the timeline in order to justify land claims, and those land claims largely have to do with the Eurasian horde and the elimination of the Eurasian horde by collusion between the Vatican, the Romanovs,
So you mean like the Mongols and the Huns?
Yeah, there was and if you look on very, very old maps, you see that there used to be a country called Tartaria that was in existence. And at a certain point, they wiped them out. And so his theory, and it's just a theory, it's just a posit, but when you see how history is constantly being rewritten in real time, it's not so hard to believe. And then he uses, astronomical evidence and mathematically kind of proves it. And he basically says that let's see if I can get this right, that Rome and Greece and those and Egypt were actually active till around 1600, and that Rome actually fell around 1600. So kind of imagine, or more like late 1400s, 1492.
As opposed to what's the conventional timeline?
About 1,000 years before. And so, if you can wrap your head around it, the Salem witch trials took place around the same time as the Inquisition. Columbus was discovering America around the time Rome fell. And that all of this was designed to justify or to erase this entire civilization from history. And then there are people who believe that there are a lot of buildings that are still in existence that were this. They claimed that Jesus Christ was, I can't remember the emperor's name. It's kind of a composite story. There's a number of...
So they think 1,000 years are missing from the timeline.
Well, yeah, think about it. If you're a Byzantine guy and you're like, hey, I want to move to the country, and you look over at France, let's say, and Germany, and you're like, yeah, there's all these like indigenous peoples there, and we want to wipe them out. And so you hire, a mercenary. You hire a guy named Charlemagne, and you get him to go in there and kill all the chieftains in one day, like 5,000 chieftains were killed in a single day, apparently, by Charlemagne. And you completely wipe out everything, and then you move in. You become Jerome the First, and you run Paris, or you begin, France. And what it really is just land. And so you add time to the timeline in order to justify that land claim. Because what makes more sense? That history was cruising along like this and then suddenly flatlined for 1,000 years and then picked up again? Or does it make more sense that somebody took that time, that the Dark Ages, and kind of added to the timeline?
So I'm confused. So, but isn't there like documented history from multiple cultures about that time period?
Yeah, but it's all like, written down by the Jesuits, who were completely in the control of, it's that history is easily changed. And in fact, we see history being changed before our eyes in real time. And so the deep past is easy to change.
So we're not in 2026.
No, we're like in the 1700s.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
Just a theory. It's just this guy, Anatoly Fomenko. And it's a very interesting theory. And so I read that, and I kind of had a tentpole collapse. I was like, well, holy crap.
Explain to me the flatness. Like, what do you mean by history goes up and then flattens
Well, the progression of humanity through history, as we kind of are progressing as we go. And then all of a sudden there's this flat line called the Dark Ages where nothing happened.
Is there a conventional explanation for this flat line? For 1,000 years?
The collapse of Rome and falling into barbarism, the time of barbarism.
That's not plausible?
Everything is plausible. It's plausible that sulfuric acid is used for RO, reverse osmosis water cleaning. And so everything is possible. The question is it probable? And
well, Jamie just pulled up that was the first time they had ever ordered that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, that's the least of the things. The thing is, we become desensitized to stuff. I mean, look at everything that has happened in the last 6 years. It's like an insane amount of stuff has happened, and everyone's just kind of like numb to it.
Well, they get desensitized.
And I think it literally is that people's brains have been fried.
Do you think by COVID vaccines?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's some scientific evidence that for some people, at least, it crossed the blood-brain barrier and had some sort of a detrimental effect on their cognitive function.
mRNA is reprogramming your system, and we've been looking at a giant die-off of people. People are collapsing left and right. Nothing is normal anymore. I mean, that guy at the airport who's flipping out. That's what he's realizing. He's having a sudden awakening, and he's tweaking over it. He's like, and he's looking around, and no one cares. Everyone just wants to get through their day.
They do.
Everyone wants to just make their next movie, and maybe they'll let me make their next movie. And everybody wants to just, I just want to keep going at my job, and I just want to do my thing, and I just want to protect my thing.
There's certainly a lot of that going on.
British only care about it as long as I have my daily pint at the end of the day. That's all they care about. You know, they'll in the meantime, their entire country is being overtaken and overrun by, like, when else in history has this happened and ended well?
No. It's so shocking how quickly it's happening in England that you just go, how do you bounce back from this? Like, what is the remedy?
Yeah.
Because they're doing this mass arrest thing with social media posts, which is bizarre. It's bizarre to watch. And then they eliminate jury trials for anything other than like murder and rape.
If you say anything, you're in jail. If you post, if you repost anything, you're just immediately sent to jail. Look at what's going on in Canada right now, you know, with Carney. I mean, like, I think that's insane what's going on. And most Canadians are just kind of vibing along with it. Nobody wants to rock the boat. Nobody wants to be racist. Nobody wants to be, you know, nobody wants to be discriminatory in any kind of way. Rightfully so. Like, you know, you want to believe that your leaders are taking care of you, and they're not. And it's over. We've lost. It's over. I mean,
you think it's over here in America as well?
Well, it got slowed down a little bit. It got so, whether you like Trump or not, and I'm not like I don't really like anybody, but
that's a healthy perspective.
It definitely added a road bump in the actions of the cabal of the Clintons and the Obamas and the bankers that control them. And that's when you see the movie The Counselor. That's what you realize, is that, wow, the cartels are the banks, and they are law enforcement, and they are the media, and they are everything, and there is no fighting it. And there is no individually fighting it. Like, there's nothing any of us can do.
That is...
And I don't mean to be... I mean, the only thing you can do is, you know, affect what's happening around you locally within the moment.
But don't you think that more people are aware of what's going on right now? There's more pushback than ever before, and so there's a possibility that it could be stopped?
Yeah, look at that guy. Look at that guy in the airport, though. Everyone's like, he's crazy. Like,
yeah, but
nobody
you're
wants
yelling
to get
at a fucking airport. I would think he's crazy too.
Well, it's
if
like
I was there waiting for my
of
flight to go visit my parents, and there's some fucking guy yelling out the Epstein file, you're just living your life. Like, yeah, what do you want me to do, dude? I'm headed to Florida right now.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers was about McCarthyism and what was going on at that time and bullshit.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers was all about McCarthyism. And
I'm a fan of the Donald Sutherland one.
Well, and look at how that ends. That ends with you're walking through the streets pretending
and he's like,
to be, you know, like you're just pretending to not be an alien, hoping that you can get by. And then, you know, the minute you show any kind of emotion, that's it. You're caught. And then they're going to make you go to sleep. And so, I mean,
so that the original script was written about McCarthyism.
The original film, the Kevin McCarthy movie.
Okay, so
and in the end, look how that movie ends. That movie ends with him, like that guy in the airport on the street. You know, they're aliens. He's basically, you know, running through the street just in traffic. People just keep driving by.
I don't remember the original one. I might not have even seen it. But the Sutherland one was amazing. I never would have thought that that's what it was about.
I mean, we're experiencing a kind of Bolshevik revolution at the moment right now. So,
in what way?
Well, there's a rise of Bolshevism. You know, it's like we see it occurring. And
how do you define Bolshevism?
Well, it's the Bolsheviks were essentially a kind of. I mean, it's not correct to say communism, but it's basically a kind of authoritarianism, you know, in the guise of egalitarianism, and helping the world know we're all going to be equal and everything. But
and they were murdering Christians.
Socialism, yeah, they were murdering Christians and and you know, we're very, very close to that now. We're we're standing on, civilization is standing on the precipice at the moment. And by the way, you know, after this podcast comes out, people are going to be like, "Oh, Avery's crazy. Avery went to jail. Avery's a killer." They're going to say all sorts of shit about me to discredit anything that I say, and that's fine. I'm easy to discredit, and so it's not really my right to speak up anymore about anything. And so
you're a human being. It's always your right to speak up.
Well, it is, but
they can eat shit.
As I look around, like, civilization is on the precipice. And, mostly good people tend to not take action against stuff.
Until they have to.
Until they have to.
We were talking about this yesterday, actually, with Cheryl Hines. And I was saying, I think we were talking about this. Well, I was talking about this recently, where I was saying that it's almost like we need something like a 9/11 to wake us up. I would never want that to happen. But I do remember that after 9/11, we were united because we realized, threats are real, danger is real. Like we really do need to be united as one group, a community, and recognize that we our brothers and sisters in the streets are not our problem. And
yeah, but we even know about 9/11 now. That like so much of it was Building 7, thermite. Like the evidence is there for anyone to look at.
Nobody wants to look
and nobody
that
wants
deep
to
into
look at it because that is
nobody wants to look into conspiracy. Like, how did these guys get a hold of these planes? How did they fly into the building? Why were the dancing Israelis watching it, cheering it on? Why did they get shipped out of the country?
Yeah, and that guy who owned the building, who bought it, who took out the insurance policy, and then had Elliot Spitzer kind of push it through and force it through so that he could receive his billions in insurance claim
and why
money.
Did he say
and really,
we made the decision
they wanted
to pull it?
Because they wanted to tear down that building, and it would have been too expensive to do, and all the asbestos and everything. So better to just destroy it.
It's like, what was that building housing? Like Building 7.
Oh, Building 7 was housing all sorts of. It was an IRS.
NSA.
Yeah, it was
right?
NSA. And
what was in Building 7? Well, let's find that out so we don't just. I think, but there was certainly some intelligence and data that was being collected in Building. The fact that no one wants to admit that building fell like a controlled demolition is really crazy. And again, I'm not saying it's a controlled demolition, but the fact that people want to say, no, it wasn't like a controlled demolition. Like, when was the last time you ever saw a fucking building collapse like that? Ever. Only controlled demolitions.
Yeah.
There's been many buildings that have been very badly damaged and lit on fire, but their frame remains.
Reputable structural engineers have basically also proven the towers could not have fallen the way they fell without explosives, pre-planned explosives.
Okay, here
and
it
the
is.
people on the scene, the rescuers on the scene, the people who were there said, yeah, I heard explosion, boom, 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 boom. And they're describing the sounds of controlled demolition.
U.S. Secret Service, floors 9 through 10, CIA, the Department of Defense, sharing the 25th floor with the IRS, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Like you put all that together, CIA, Department of Defense, IRS, who thinks any of those people have your...
right. Like, also, if you wanted to destroy data, you wanted to destroy data. Like, didn't the part of the Pentagon that got hit and that was also a day after Rumsfeld was saying that there was trillions of dollars that were unaccounted for?
Yeah.
Didn't the accounting part of the Pentagon get hit by that air quotes plane?
Yeah. Yeah, that plane that came in very...
What's that, Jamie?
On screen. Last sentence.
The building contained about 24,000 gallons of diesel fuel for generators used by tenants like Solomon Brothers and the Emergency Command Center. Floors 46 through 47 and parts of the lower level were mechanical spaces, while files from federal investigations, Secret Service cases were stored there but lost in the collapse.
And the SEC.
Whoopsies.
And has the world been the same since then?
The SEC, like having that there too, boy, that's super convenient. Guys, we lost the data. Let's just start from scratch. There's no case anymore. Whatever they were doing.
And yet nobody wants to accept it. Nobody cares.
What's the video of it that is like really shocking? I had this really dumb guy on the podcast once that was a skeptic, a professional skeptic, and he was really angry with me for saying that it looked like a controlled demolition. You're promoting a dangerous conspiracy theory. I'm like, no, I'm saying it looks like. You're saying it doesn't look like a control. Let's watch it. I'm like, let's watch it.
I mean,
it falls
conspiracy theorists have had a pretty good run lately.
Let's watch it. Let's watch Building 7 collapse because it's kind of kooky. Now, one thing that people do point out that is true is that the center, like there was a small structure at the top of the roof of Building 7 that collapses first, and it does it like I think a minute before the actual building
but
collapses.
these are skirt buildings, and what that means is that's actually the most structurally sound part of the building. The rest of the movie is a facade that's hanging off of the inner structure.
Just the building, yeah.
That's the most sound part of the building.
It's built over a Con Edison substation, requiring large transfer trusses on lower floors to support the tower above, creating long-span floors vulnerable to thermal expansion. Long, unsupported floor beams and girders up to 50 feet connected to critical interior columns, like column 79, with shear studs that failed under fire-induced lateral loads rather than just gravity.
It was the auto manual flip-flop.
The exterior tube frame provided stiffness, but the open interior layout lacked redundancy to prevent fire-induced progressive collapse with connections not designed for horizontal thermal forces. Okay, that's a cute way of saying that's why it fell at free fall speed and looks like a controlled demolition. Because if that was my building, I would say, give me my fucking money back. You made this shit-ass building. This building got lit on fire and just collapsed on itself. Let's watch it collapse. Because the way it collapses is so kooky. Because it really does it at free fall speed or close to it. It's strange. Like, there's never been a building that looks that intact that falls like that. It's weird, man. I mean, it's fucking weird. Anybody that says it's not weird, look, this is how it happened. It's weird. Now, the planes hitting Tower 1 and Tower 2, okay, that makes maybe more sense to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, because it fell from the top down. Like, it looks normal. It doesn't collapse into its base. Tower 7 collapses into its base. The way Tower 1 and Tower 2 fell.
But how about the testimony of people saying they heard multiple pop, 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 pop explosions? Is that just girders snapping?
It could be. Yeah. I mean, you got to think you have immense amounts of weight, and it is collapsing. So if it does collapse, the way it looks it's collapsing from the top down, it's not going to be silent. You're going to hear tremendous explosions when concrete hits the slabs below it. It's going to sound like explosions. Also, you have the fog of war, right? So you have these people that are involved in an extremely traumatic situation, and their memory is very fucked. Like, your memory's fucked when you experience something like this. You remember things funny. You have confirmation bias. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens. So this is the explanation that a piece of the plane falls down and hits that building.
And big tower on top.
Yeah. I'm sorry. A piece of the
aerial antenna.
Building, I meant to say, sorry. So that piece of the building falls down, and not a plane, obviously, hits the building next to it, Tower 7. And that gash is all it took to take that building down. That's super suspect. And I do know that there was a fire inside the building. I'm sure there was. But the way it fell was crazy. Tower 1 and Tower 2, it's like, I don't know what happens when a jet flies into a building like that, and neither do you. And also you got to deal with corrupt construction companies, cutting corners, not doing things up to code. Perhaps. I'll give you that. I'll be super charitable. But with Building 7, I'm like, come on, man, that's weird. That one's fucking weird. Because it doesn't fall like 1 and 2. 1 and 2 fall from where the impact was, the deterioration of the structure, the weight of what's above the impact. It falls down on it, and you see a progressive collapse from the top to the bottom. Tower 7 is nuts. Tower 7 just drops all at once, free fall speed into its base. That's weird.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't think that's weird is being naive.
Yeah.
That's never happened before to a building that hasn't been a controlled demolition. Again, not saying it's a controlled demolition. Maybe it's accurate that these enormous drums of diesel are creating this fire, unprecedented load on the structure of the building.
But see, even with everything else that occurred, with all the tangential stuff that's occurred, you're still like giving the benefit of the doubt. You'll have suspension of disbelief.
But I'm saying right now, I was trying to finish. That fire is not on every floor uniformly. So why is it collapsing uniformly from the top down into the base? Why doesn't the base, where you have this incredible fire load, why doesn't that weaken and it fall over sideways because it no longer has structure anymore? Why is it every floor has the same amount of damage and it gives in at the exact same time? That kind of doesn't make sense because the fire is not uniform throughout the building. It's not like the building is one gigantic flame ball and then it all gives out at the same time. But even then, I would think it would tip over. It would fall to the side. Falling into its base, that seems to indicate some sort of a control. Like it was done uniformly. They time it. When you watch like in Vegas when they blow up a casino, it's like dum 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 dum, and then it does that.
Dum 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 dum.
Let's watch an actual controlled demolition. So when you watch an actual controlled demolition, it looks just like that. It looks just like that. And then I don't know.
I mean, the testimony of your eyes are telling you the truth. But your brain, will come up with all sorts of stuff because mundus vult decepi.
Well, I'm not allowing it to with Tower 7. I've always maintained a pretty open mind with that. But also, I lean towards shenanigans in that one because that one just seems fucked. Tower 1 and Tower 2, maybe. Tower 7, come on.
Yeah.
Tower 7, nobody looks, and if they're telling you that Tower 7 seems normal, they seem so gaslighty. Everybody that says that seems like they're gaslighting. So here we go. Hit it. Okay, this one's they're setting up for a controlled demolition, so they're showing you how. That's kind of a shitty one. There's other ones that have done a better job with, but it's the same kind of thing.
It's still falling onto itself.
Yes, it's falling into itself the same way Tower 7 did.
But see, that movie, that building
a different shape.
That has a skirt building. It's got a center structure.
Yeah, it's a different kind of structure. It has a different look to it. Let's watch that one. Okay, there. Come on. That looks exactly like Tower 7. When you watch that, back that up again a little bit, please. Watch that from the top, from the beginning. Just a little bit right before it drops. So watch. They're looking, they're watching. We're going to watch the building drop. There it is. That fucker goes right down like Tower. Like from there, come on. That's exactly like a controlled demolition. And even the way it looks as it's going down looks exactly like Tower 7.
We were talking about predictive programming and how movies and like spells can predict stuff in advance and kind of prepare you for the future of what's coming. In 1999, a movie came out which was effectively a manifesto, and that movie was called Fight Club. And what's the end of that movie? The end of that movie is the collapsing of the buildings, which are the financial system, of the future, so that they can create a new future. Who produced that movie? Arnon Milchan. Who is Arnon Milchan? And they got a commercial director to do it, Fincher. And he's an excellent director, and I think it's a excellently, beautifully made film. But who is Arnon Milchan? Well, he himself has said, I am a Mossad agent. And he said that out loud. Like, that's not me saying that. That's him saying that. And Fincher said, oh, yeah, my last movie, that was made by an arms dealer. Well, that's him. That's Arnon Milchan. And so, and what's another Arnon Milchan movie? The Medusa Touch with George C. Scott and I think Lee Remick. And in that movie, what happens? An airplane crashes into a building, and you could probably pull that one up too. An airplane crashes into a building. This guy's obsessed with airplanes crashing into buildings and buildings collapsing in movies. And so what's likely? Has he been reading these scenario plans that defense departments make and that are maybe, Mossad, plans that are made? I've worked for the DoD through John Milius, and we wrote scenarios. They gathered together a bunch of Hollywood writers into a what is it, like a conference room, it was more like a ballroom, but like a small one, and gathered a bunch of us together around a table and said, let's come up with ways on how to attack Los Angeles. And we all wrote scenarios on how to attack LA. And now they just use AI to do all that. But so, has he just been reading these? Does he have access to them? And so he just puts them into his movies? Well, that movie was made in 1999. And what happened right after that movie got released? Those buildings came down. Yeah. 9/11 came down. And so is it predictive programming where you're showing the world what's to come and that makes it almost somewhat acceptable to do?
Whoa.
Or is it just coincidence? And most people out there will say, "Oh no, it's just coincidence. It's coincidence." And he just happens to be. I mean, that's what he has said. I don't know if he is or not Mossad, but that's what he said. So,
well, that's the thing about the pejorative term conspiracy theorist. It's slapped on things, and it immediately sort of diffuses any real questioning of, oh my God, are things this bad? Is there this much? But as time goes on and you're confronted with more and more information, and I think we're in the beginning stages of reckoning with these files that were just released, where so many people, like, I haven't really read much of it. I've only read the things that are really outrageous that my friends have sent me, because I'm just trying to maintain my sanity.
Well, that's just it. Most people want to maintain sanity. You just, like, I just want to get through the day. You know, I just want to, like...
You're busy.
And it's even more than busy. I want to be happy.
Right.
I want to raise my children in a world that is, you know, a peaceful world, and where people respect each other, and where we can, like, you can make something out of yourself, you know, through hard work and through merit. You know, it's like, that's the world I want to live in. And more, it feels like we're not in that world.
Did you see that thing that was just released today? I think it's the AI company Anthropic. I think that's the company. So one of its engineers resigned and essentially said that humanity is doomed.
Yeah.
And he's going to move to the UK and just write poetry and just wait it out.
Hasn't that guy seen Threads? Like, the UK is like one of the most dangerous places to be. That's where he's going to wait it out. Like, that's.
Well, he probably has this.
Well, when he says UK,
idea.
does he mean like where does?
I'm not sure. Maybe he means like the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah,
maybe he's gonna hide.
Yeah.
And go into some small town and fucking just hang out at a pub.
Yeah, they're gonna populate that town with. Suddenly 800 war-capable men from you know, another country are going to move in, and they're going to move into the local hotel.
Someplace that the West has conveniently been bombing and creating refugees on.
Yeah, creating angry people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who have a
God, you don't want to think that it's all planned out like that. But
of course you don't. Like, you know.
But that was a bit of the exposure of U.S. aid. You know, so I, like many people, thought U.S. aid was about aid. I thought it was like a beautiful philanthropic program where the United States donates money to all these poor countries. Mm-hmm. That's how they get food. Like, I had Bono on the show, and he's like, I've heard that 30,000 people have already starved to death because of this. 30 million people are going to die. And I'm like, okay, but do you know how much corruption was involved with this? Do you know that it's not aid? It's the Agency for International Development, and mostly what they were doing was regime change shit. And Mike Benz laid it out, and he said U.S. aid was for tasks that were too dirty for the CIA.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So, like, if they've been engineering this long game and engineering the collapse of legitimate governments all throughout the world, bombing places, creating refugees, and then having these not just open border policies, but inviting and helping people get into countries and then giving them money when they get there.
Yeah.
Like, so many people do not want to admit that that was really going on, despite all of the evidence. That's another, like, it's designed to destroy whatever confidence you have in law enforcement, in civilization, in the electoral process.
Yeah, what's the answer? Okay, so given a choice between totalitarianism or cannibalism, you know, which would you prefer?
Right. You take cannibalism because you don't want to be eaten. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you take totalitarianism because you don't want to be eaten.
Like, I would rather not be in the movie The Road, but I feel like
I turned that one off immediately.
I feel like we're increasingly in the movie Children of Men. And I mean, that movie was a pretty accurate futurist example of where we're heading with collapsing birth rates and at least portions of civilization looking at extinction.
Yeah,
and
I mean, they're experiencing that
totalitarian
right now. South Korea, Japan.
Yeah.
What is? Can you find that guy's manifesto?
I think,
excuse me,
Cuarón is a genius for making that film. I just want to say,
Children of Men. Yeah, fantastic movie. So today is my last day at Anthropic. I resigned. Here's the letter I shared with my colleagues explaining my decision. That's a lot to read. What is the synopsis? Just ask Perplexity what the synopsis of what this guy said. Okay. Sharma, who built defenses against AI-assisted bioterrorism and pushed for transparency on model risks at the San Francisco AI firm, announced his resignation on Monday. He described struggles to let values guide actions amid mounting pressures, planning to return to the UK for a poetry degree and step back from the spotlight. His exit follows other safety team departures amid Anthropic's launch of Claude Opus 4.6 and a massive $20 billion funding round at $350 billion valuation, fueling debates on balancing safety with commercial speed. Okay, but what is he saying specifically is the issue? Let's click on that. Fuck it. Let's click on his
AI started talking to him and scared the bejesus out of him.
The safe holds. He's part of the guiding of the. Damn it! Lost the word.
Yeah.
Bioweapon. I mean, look, this guy's built something, and all of a sudden he's realizing all the players that are funding it are likely, scary, scary people.
Yeah, scary people who are comfortable.
Who are all in the same club, drinking baby blood and offal together.
What's offal again?
Shit.
Oh.
Meconium, which is like it's a thing.
Baby poop.
Yeah, that's in the files.
What comes next, I do not know. I think fondly of this famous Zen quote, "Not knowing is most intimate." What? My intention is to create a space to set aside the structures that have held me these past years and see what might emerge in their absence. He's already working on his poetry right here. I feel called to writing that addresses and engages fully with the place we find ourselves, and that places poetic truth alongside scientific truth as equally valid ways of knowing.
Yeah, it was written for him by AI.
Elon said something very bizarre recently. He was talking about the speed of light, that the speed of light cannot be, you can't bypass or exceed the speed of light.
If you believe Einstein, yeah.
He said, unless we live in a simulation.
Or unless Einstein was wrong.
Right.
I mean, a lot of astrophysics is based on a false premise that P equals P prime, and that the sun is designed a certain way, and it's completely wrong. And everything that we know about the stars and how we view the nature of the universe is fundamentally incorrect.
How is it wrong?
It's based on this idea of the stability of Kelvin temperatures in the sun, and which is this P equals P prime thing. And the guy who invented CAT scan machines, there's sort of a Venn diagram overlapping of this photographic technique and astrophysics. And what he realized is, holy cow, that is not true, and therefore so much of everything that we know about how we view the cosmos is incorrect. And so,
now, how'd they find out that it was incorrect?
Well, he's a mathematician. He figured it out. Mm-hmm. I would have to look up his name and everything.
And what is incorrect about it? Do you remember that?
Well, it's at the beginning of astrophysics, there is this formula, and if that formula is wrong, then the preceding calculations are also wrong, or at least off. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that what we view is really just it's kind of a cartoon that's painted for us using all these formulas and using radio telescopes. And so, things are not as they seem.
Well, they already have issues with the findings from the James Webb Telescope.
Oh yeah, well that's probably part of it. Yeah, I have to say, I'm a provocateur, and so I'm always interested in finding that which upsets people's, concepts of things. And that's partly because I'm a screenwriter and I'm looking for these kind of conflicts and interesting ideas and stuff like that. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But the big one, the biggest conspiracy theory that freaks everybody out is flat Earth. Now, I don't know what the Earth is, but experientially, through the testimony of the eyes, it is flat. And there is very little chance that I will ever in my life, or most of us will ever in our life, experience anything other than what is effectively a flat Earth. And the way laser sighting across large bodies of water, or navigation maps for air travel, for pilots, is always the presumption of a flat Earth. It's always in the pilot manuals and on maps.
How so?
Well, if you're flying a jet at low altitude, you're not making corrections for curvature, even though you're going fast enough where you should be. And so what's actually happening there? Well, and so the idea is, look, I don't know what the world is or what the realm that we're in is, but experientially, from my perspective in life, it is nothing but it's a flat Earth.
But what about travel routes? Like, what about when they fly over Antarctica? What if they?
They don't fly over.
But you can
Antarctica.
watch the sun rise and fall.
They don't even fly from Cape down to Buenos Aires.
There's an understanding of the precession of the equinoxes.
They travel up into the other hemisphere and like land in London or something, and then travel back down whenever you're doing a flight across the Atlantic. And so, like, when you look at it on a flat Earth map, and there are plenty of them.
Satellite photographs of Earth from space.
Those are all cartoons.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying that even the NASA, the guys who actually do those composites, those are composite imagery of, listen, I am not saying that.
But it seems like you're saying that the Earth is possibly flat.
I'm saying experientially.
Right,
but
that's a scale.
From your daily...
That's a scale issue, though.
Correct.
We're a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
But, snipers have to calculate for the curvature of the Earth when they shoot.
Only the curvature of the landscape that they're
right.
on.
Why do you think the landscape curves?
The landscape doesn't curve. It is a mountainous and uneven.
Not always.
Uneven,
no. On flat plains, you have to do the same thing.
Well,
if you're making a long shot over a flat area, like if you had to shoot.
Well, then why don't pilots make adjustments?
I'm not a pilot. I don't know, but I do know that when you look at
navigation maps, always
the film from the space station,
presume a flat Earth.
When you look at the film from the space
surface.
station, you see an Earth that's not just round but spinning.
I see the space station, the International Space Station is actually not high enough to see curvature, and what you're seeing is the lens distortion. And
it's not high enough to see curvature when you look out into the horizon?
It's actually even like it's very, very close to the...
Let's look at footage from the space station of Earth. So when you see satellite images that are taken of the Earth, you think they're lying? You think there's this grand conspiracy to piece all these pictures together and turn it into a circle instead of have it flat?
All I'm saying is that's the fundamental conspiracy theory that unravels everyone.
Well, it doesn't make any sense because everything that we see in the cosmos that's a planetary body is round, including stars. So it's all round, except for small moons. Everything is round, and that's because
I'm not even certain
that space exists.
That the moon is anything more than a plasma.
Plasma.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That it's a plasma effect, a lenticular effect of some kind.
So that it's not a real thing, but it affects the tides. It is something that we have landed, at the very least, we've landed probes on.
We don't know that
Other
it affects the
countries
tides. People theorize
so this is
that it affects the tides.
Footage from the space station. This is live footage from the space station.
And I'm saying that's lens curvature, and that what you're actually seeing.
Why do you think that's lens curvature?
And that what you're seeing is horizon.
So what you're talking about is like
I'm saying
a fisheye
if I'm trying
lens.
to provoke you, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but let's not do that right now because I don't want you to be completely fucking insane. Because this is a round body, just like the moon, just like Mars, just like Jupiter, just like Uranus.
Appears to be but in your practical life experience, you have to accept a certain amount of faith. Is what I'm getting at any moment.
But they understand the precession of the equinoxes. Okay, do you know that the precession of the equinoxes is how they measure the sky over a period of 26,000 years?
I see right there a little stitching, like right there.
So this would just keep going straight forever?
Do you see that line?
Yeah,
do you see that line right there? What is that?
What is that line?
Yeah, what is that line? Well, that looks like stitching to me. It looks like they've stitched together and it crosses over there through that mountain range right there.
That is weird, whatever that is. But
by your very example, I'm just saying that you have to have a certain amount of faith in that. And on the surface, mundus vult decepi.
Well, okay. You're freaking me out. Go back to that, Jamie. So what is the explanation? Go back a little bit.
Yeah, what is the explanation of that line right there?
Right, but how weird is that? That is weird that there's this line.
Right, because
very
that
clear.
in itself is a composite image, a cartoon that has been put together for you to look at this apparent live imagery that is being taken. And
is this multiple images that are supposedly pieced together? Is that what they're...
I'm saying that things fall into, like, the way perspective works is that things appear to fall into the horizon. But now you use what is that camera? Is it a P200 camera where you can actually zoom in and lift things out of the horizon that have appeared to fall into the horizon?
This live video feed from the International Space Station has
been interrupted because you're watching too much.
Due to either a change in the onboard camera configuration or a loss of signal with the communications network. The video will return when the connection is reestablished. So this is during the live feed?
This isn't from NASA's YouTube channel. It's just down right now.
It's just down right now. Okay, so you're saying that this is like a fisheye effect of a lens.
Yeah, I'm saying
potentially.
I'm saying that, and that we can even see that whenever they're up there shooting with cameras outside, you're like, oh, there's the
do you know how many people...
there's the curvature, and then every now and then the camera turns and it inverts for a moment, then it goes back down.
I've never seen that.
I watch a lot of NASA stuff, and listen, I'm not saying that we're not living on a globe or at least an oblate spheroid, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says. But have you ever noticed how spasticated that guy gets whenever you throw out the word flat Earth? He flips out like the way Robert De Niro flips out on like irrationally. He flips out.
He flips out when you say that men can't be women, which is very weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And that they should be able to compete in women's sports. Which is very weird.
It's like
for a man of science, that's bonkers.
Or that they should be able to go to jail, and that a sex offender,
fucking insane. Not just that, but rapists.
Yeah, who
people
is
have
then
raped
put in jail
children,
with women, and
then they have to pay for their electrolysis and breast augmentation, which is okay. At what point in time do you say that this is some sort of a bizarre agenda that you're trying to get us to accept something that doesn't make any fucking sense? So much so that you're willing to house male prisoners in with females because they say they're a male with an intact penis, and then even if they get like female prisoners pregnant or rape them.
We're all just trying to construct what reality is, and it tends to be a consensus of what it is. But, there are fringes that on the ends that don't believe with what the consensus says.
Understand,
are they wrong?
But do you know how many people would have to be involved to promulgate this idea that there's a flat Earth and you got to cover up that thing and pretend it's round? And what's the motivation of covering up the fact that the Earth is flat?
If we're really fundamentally getting down to it, it's about God. And it's about what is this realm that we're in, and are we part of creation? And
But why would it be more likely God if it was flat?
Every culture throughout recorded history draws us in this kind of flat earthish environment with a dome, a firmament that covers it up until like when the 1930s or so.
Right, when they start making telescopes.
Right.
I mean, so this is a grand conspiracy. Like Galileo was wrong, Copernicus was wrong. All these people
all
didn't know.
All of recorded history is wrong. And I mean, the other option is that we are just specks of nothing floating around in an endless, vast nothing that goes on forever, and that you are completely insignificant, that you are not God's perfect creation, which I think you are.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive. Just because we are in this vast cosmos that's almost impossible for mammal minds to grasp the magnitude of it doesn't mean that God's not real.
It's exclusive to people who believe the Bible word for word. I'm not saying I do necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I would be considered apostate, by most people.
I've been reading the Bible a lot, and one of the problems that I find is it's clearly got the hand of man on it.
Well, it's been edited.
Yes.
It's been edited. The King James, or who was King James? He wrote Bible. He wrote books on demons as well. And so,
even the Old Testament. The Old Testament has the hand of man on it. Not just that, but it's also been translated so many different times. Like ancient Hebrew, the letters double as numbers. There's no numbers in ancient Hebrew. So words have numerical value to them. And, imagine translating such a complex language where, like, the word God and the word love, they have the same numerical value. I believe. Here's another thing. I read that. I don't know if it's true. So let me find out if that's true. Put that into perplexity.
There's a lot of weird stuff in the Bible. In Genesis, when
how about the
Nephilim come down and they find women comely, and so they're like, okay, what's actually going on there? These angels or Nephilim are coming down, and they're taking women from men and having sex with them, and then creating hybrid offspring.
When Representative Anna Paulina Luna was here, she told me about the Book of Enoch. She's like, you have to read that. Have you ever read it? I go, no. So I read it.
Have you seen The Carpenter's Son, the Nicolas Cage movie?
No.
Incredible.
What did I just have you look up, though, before I lose my train of thought?
The King James Bible thing.
What?
That's what I was trying to ask specifically. Which part did you want me to ask about?
No, what I asked you was ancient Hebrew. So the letters also double those numbers.
That's what that movie Pi is all about.
And that the word love and the word God have the same numerical value. I'm very, very certain that that's true, but I want to really double check.
Well, numerology exists around us everywhere. And, everything, it seems to have a kind of, and that's what the Aronofsky film Pi was kind of all about, is that.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it's a very.
There was also
he's a very interesting film.
A really fascinating statement by this mathematician. We talked about it on a recent podcast. Was that how strange is it that we find out that the universe is made out of math, and that it's encoded in the universe itself? So a tool that we used, that human beings created to measure the universe, it turns out that tool is how the universe is actually encoded.
Well, this gets back to what Elon is saying about the world being a simulation. What is a simulation? A simulation
so it says no in ancient Hebrew, whatever that word is, gematria. No direct name of God shares the exact same numerical value as the word for love. So what is the basis of that rumor? Sacred name equals 26. A name for God equals 86. Okay. Is there a word for God?
Elohim.
Does that have the same?
It's a name.
Right. What is the value of? Click on that below that where it says what is the gematria? What is that word?
I had to look it up. It's
gematria.
Gematria.
Primary Jewish mysticism. Oh, Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Religious studies to find hidden spiritual meanings in sacred texts. Okay. It is fascinating that there's numerical value in words. Like there's no way you're going to get that when you translate it to Latin. So that is
or Greek.
That is a value of 86. And what is love's value? What is the value? What is the ancient Hebrew word for love? What is the ancient Hebrew word for love?
What you mean by love is going to be very. You have to say. Do you mean like love between two people?
Okay, what is the gematria?
Love that doggy in the window.
Do you love your child?
Yeah. That's a good point. They
probably have different words for it.
Definitely. So what is that? Click on that. What's the gematria value of Avala? Right there? Right there? Yeah. Click on that. It's 13. So that's a different number too. Interesting. 13 twice equals 26, the value of Yahweh.
Yeah.
Huh.
This movie, The Carpenter's Son, is all about the infancy of Jesus. I think it's written by Matthew. And it's part of these, I may have this wrong, but Coptic texts. And it is like, Nicolas Cage is so good in this movie.
So twice 13 equals 26, the value of Yahweh, implying love mirrors or completes God's essence. Okay, so that's where that comes from.
I was going to ask where it came from.
Right, that's where it comes from.
God is love.
So God is love. So love twice is God. So here's a question. What happened? I understand. I understand. Go to ask a follow-up. How was the numerical value of ancient Hebrew language lost when they translated it to Latin?
To Greek.
But to Greek first, right? How is the numerical value of ancient Hebrew words? Numerical value of ancient Hebrew words lost when they translated it to Greek? Because it seems like it's not just context, like what is your word for that? Like the word meant a different thing to them. You know? Numerical values of ancient Hebrew words calculated via gematria, where letters double as numbers, was not preserved in Greek translations. Hebrew letters inherently carry fixed numerical values, enabling word sums. Greek letters have their own values. Equivalents rarely match Hebrew sums exactly, so you're gonna lose it. Like when you read like Russian translations of English or English to Russian, it gets like super screwy.
For sure.
Is this for sure like real?
Ancient
or
Spanish, Cervantes is incredibly difficult.
Even
gematria.
Like all words mean another number that all have some sort of secret meaning.
Runic writing from the Nordics is the same thing, and there is a striking resemblance between many of the runes with Hebrew. And so these ideas and these glyphs and symbols that Odin first saw while hanging upside down from the tree and learned language and how to speak are somewhat universal across the planet.
Let's get to that for a second, but let's find out what Jamie's saying. Primarily used in Jewish mysticism and religious studies to find hidden spiritual meanings in sacred texts like Torah by assigning numerical values to Hebrew letters and words, revealing connections between concepts, and exploring the universe's underlying structure. What's interesting is like it's an older language, but doesn't that seem like a more complex language, a language that combines numerical value with words? Like if you said something to me, it's not just implied by your tone or by the context of what you're saying that I understand what it means to you, but it's in the numerical value of the words. That seems like a better way to communicate than just nouns and verbs and adverbs. Like
rather than bifurcating
numbers and letters together. It like sounds like a way better move. I mean, doesn't it? It seems like if you can understand that and if you grew up with that, that seems like that would be a much richer and deeper way of communicating.
Isaac Asimov wrote a book called Asimov on Numbers, which is fantastic, which talks about this. And he talks about Kalahari Bushmen who have no concept of the number 0 and how they process and understand concepts like, when no one is around, if the village is empty and things like that. And so, just different people are just trying to figure out how to articulate everything. And, computer programming is a language that utilizes numbers.
It's weird when there's like certain languages that don't have a word for something. So people really they have a hard time grasping what the fuck you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, what's the translation for this? Like, what? We don't have a word for that.
We don't understand the concept of empathy.
Well, there's certain cultures that are like tribal cultures that can't understand the concept of maintenance.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
I've heard that.
Yeah, which is weird. Like you think about it, like, oh, right.
Why would they need maintenance?
Right.
Why would they need maintenance?
If you live a subsistence lifestyle, you live off the land, you don't need maintenance.
And then suddenly you're thrust into the 21st century and the Chinese are building highways for you. And
the highways collapse.
Yeah, and the highways just collapse because no one's maintaining it.
Right. So, yeah. It's interesting. But it's interesting
you're pulling people out of the Stone Age and dropping them into, or maybe the Iron Age, and dropping them suddenly into.
So to take this back to this idea that we're missing 1,000 years. So if we really are missing this 1,000, there's two things I want to get. I want to get to that, and I
added 1,000 years.
Added 1,000 years. I really want to get to that, and I meant by missing, like they don't exist in the real world.
Right.
I want to get to that, and I want to get to, is there a conventional explanation for that stitching? Why that image? Like, what is the mainstream?
Oh, I got to dig up what we were even looking at. I don't know. It was not the NASA channel we were looking at. I can dig down that rabbit hole.
What were we looking at?
I've tried to pick up a video of the live.
The globe imagery that.
Oh, hold on a second. So that image might not have been an official image. That might have been something that someone created.
I'm not saying that. No, well, let me retract. Words aren't taken out of context. I'm just saying it seemed like a live video. It was live on YouTube.
Oh, but it could have been AI.
I don't know
horseshit.
I have to go back to look at the
Right.
I'm working fast over here.
No, I get it, dog. I get it.
That's why I found
Jamie, you do the job of 15 dudes, so I appreciate what
I found
you
a
do.
video from 11 years ago on Vimeo that is from SpaceX, so it's not NASA, it's someone else, and it's up and down of the rocket. You can argue all day that it's got curvature. It doesn't have curvature.
When you see a rocket launch, what does it do? It goes kind of sideways across the sky. And so, like, we've now seen that, pretty regularly, and that's because they're really not going above the troposphere, which,
I watched the SpaceX launch live. I was there. It went straight up in the air.
And then it curves and it travels sideways across the sky until it meets the horizon.
Well, it gets to a certain orbit, and then it traveled and dropped off in Australia 35 minutes later. I went to the
out of your view.
No, I watched the entire thing from the command center. I watched it from like 24 different cameras.
Mm-hmm. But how high did it go? Did it go above the troposphere? Not likely. Like, this is not above
the troposphere.
This is like
how many miles is that up?
This is low Earth orbit.
Right. But at low Earth orbit, Jesus Christ, that looks like a globe, huh?
But watch as the camera rotates.
This is also an edited video. I don't want to get stuck in this.
Right. Like as Elon would say, it's real because it looks fake, or when it looks fake, that's when you know it's real.
Say that about Bigfoot, then, bitch. Because Bigfoot looks fake as fuck, and it's definitely not real. You know what's real? That Turkish sharpshooter. That dude was like a G up in the corner. Press play. See what this is supposed to be.
It cuts.
It cuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's
so
a
it cuts
highlight
a
video
bunch of different images.
See, now you can actually see an inversion occurring on the horizon right there.
A small piece of it.
Correct, but the lens distortion on the side of the frame is causing the horizon there
to go the opposite way,
to invert, and that's because of lens distortion.
I see what you're saying.
If it is.
And the fact of the matter is, even at the height that these are orbiting at, and I'm not saying like presuming a globular planet. And even the word planet, plane, it's like a plane at, or the horizon is horizontal. Like, even presuming that, the height that they're at right now, you would still only see, a circular. You would see the limit of your vision, which has a
because it's so massive.
Yeah, because it's so massive. You're still high enough. Well, you're still not high enough to truly see curvature.
If we are in a simulation, and if consciousness it affects the reality of things, and they are only real if we are experiencing them. That's when things get really squirrely.
The testimony of your eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I am here right now.
Not just the testimony of your eyes, but your consciousness interacting with reality is what creates it.
Correct. I mean,
that's where things get super squirrely.
How do you know gravity exists, for example?
Well, gravity's not clearly defined.
Correct.
Right? We
gravity
understand the numbers.
Gravity is a concept, and it's a truly non-provable concept because you can prove the exact same thing through density and buoyancy. The density and buoyancy, make a lot of sense. How come the oceans, react the way they do and don't, it's not necessarily provable, but it's believable. You come to a certain point where you're like, okay, faith takes over at this point. My faith in gravity, my faith in the globe, because that's what's been told to me since I was a baby. At a certain point, that just takes over, and you and you accept that as a fundamental piece of what reality is because we want to believe we understand the universe. What I'm saying is, we don't understand jack shit about the universe. We don't know anything, and all we do is we believe what they tell us, and they is just the cumulative understanding of how things are. But in ancient times, they had a different understanding of things, and that was how it was back then. And so, because they had no other way to describe
but even then,
so reality is just
built things based on where the sun was going to be during the solar equinox. They also were aware of the precession of the equinoxes, which is the wobble of Earth's orbit. So Earth spinning around doesn't spin perfectly. There is a 26,000-year wobble, and you can predict it by the night sky.
And somehow Polaris remains centered in the sky, and all stars rotate around it. That's extraordinary. If we're traveling...
What do you mean? So during the precession of the equinoxes over a 26,000-year cycle, Polaris
it has
remained in the exact same spot?
And supposedly that's because that's where we're flying towards as a solar system as we travel through the galaxy in this complex dance of
the
planets.
Equinoxes, this wobble over a 26,000-year period, it will move in the sky.
Well, the point of Polaris will always remain where it is, directly
the point,
to
but
the
our
north.
Perspective of it will vary depending upon where we are in this 26,000-year cycle.
It undergoes a kind of penumbra of sorts, a kind of motion of sorts.
It
that's
changes.
Sort of a figure eight motion through time.
It changes. Look at it. It says right here. Due to the 26,000-year axial precession cycle, the North Star changes over millennia. While Polaris is the current North Star, other stars have held this position, including Thuban, 3000 BC, and future stars will include Avary, Alderamin, and Vega. So it's not the same star. It's just what is dependent upon where we are in the precession of the equinoxes. That's why.
Well, there
it's
it
not,
is.
Not that the Earth is flat.
I know it's true because it's on Google.
But it's not just that. We know where they've been able to accurately predict the motion of the precession of the equinoxes based on the constellations, which are clearly mapped out. So we understand this wobble. And this wobble may be responsible for cycles of Earth's climate, how things change and be dependent upon where the equator sits and where these poles sit and
kind of
how
funny
it wiggles around.
Remember when we were younger, the sun was kind of yellow and orange, and now it's just like white? Like reality is changing. I mean, things change.
The sun looks exactly the same to me.
Does?
Yeah.
You think the sun is the same? To me,
I think pollution has affected it somewhat, especially if you live in L.A.
Well, there used to be more pollution, and so maybe that's an excuse of why the sun would be more yellow. But I've lived all over the world.
Did you see Epstein talking about gravity?
Oh boy!
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Hit me with it.
It's not. I don't know. It's very. I'll just say.
What does he have to say?
It's fine. It's only 45 seconds.
I just let it go. So someone's pushing the ball because I know that I am confident that the only thing that gets something to move is with a force that pushes. So there's a force that's pushing the ball down. In fact, he called it gravity. He measured how fast it was pulled, but never was able to explain why it happened. How is it? What is gravity? It's this. Everybody says, well, why did the ball fall to the ground? Because gravity took it. But what's gravity? That's, as Feynman would say, that's the name of the thing we have no idea what it is.
That's the end of that clip. It's
or it's just density and buoyancy.
He was really into this topic, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently.
He knew a lot about it.
You know who you should have on is Eric Dubé. Do you know who this guy is?
Oh, he's the flat Earth guy.
Yeah, he's the flat Earth guy. And he's written a book called 100 Proofs. And in order to prove something, you also have to prove things wrong.
You went down some rabbit holes,
well,
Roger Avary.
look, I'm a screenwriter, and so I'm always looking for things like this to write stuff about. And so it's...
so in order to prove... In order to prove what?
Whenever you have a proof, you also have to disprove. And so, you know, he wrote a book called 100 Proofs about, you know, the nature of, you know, the Earth and how it is. And it has explanations for many of the things you're talking about.
Hasn't he debated people that actually understand how you can prove that the Earth is round?
He does it very calmly, and it infuriates people.
Right, but I don't think he's done well.
It's very enjoyable to watch because it's really funny.
But to people that are actual cosmologists, he's not performed well in these.
Well, the cosmologists will say things that still need to be, if you're making statements, they still need to be, you still need to disprove the other, you know, the other proofs. Like,
right, but there's plenty of people that have disproven that the Earth is flat.
All I'm saying is
with simple experiments.
The Joe Rogan experience throughout life. You are really, like, when you go up into an airplane, I do not see the curvature of the Earth.
Well, you can't because of perspective, because you're so tiny.
Correct, because we're so tiny. So all I'm saying is that through experience, that the testimony of your eyes, you will never experience a globular Earth. You can't.
But you do experience
you will have to, at
the
a certain
effect
point,
of a Earth that's a globe if you go to the other side of the Earth and it's dark out, when it's sunny in California.
They've made models of how that could work on the flat.
Dorks have.
Dorks have made models.
But it doesn't line in with our understanding of cosmology. It doesn't line in with our understanding of our orbit around the sun.
That's assuming you believe that we orbit around the sun. And listen, I'm not saying that we don't orbit around the sun.
But
I'm not saying we don't live on a globular Earth.
But the numbers
don't
match.
take me wrong.
But the numbers match. If you do assume that they're correct, that we orbit around the sun, their calculations are completely accurate.
If they make the calculations on their flat Earth model as well, then you still have to prove that wrong.
Right, but is NASA doing that? Is MIT doing that? No.
Like of all people to believe, the ones who are digitally stitching shit and saying that's a government. That's a government agency.
You went so deep with this, boy.
All I'm saying is my experience. You know, when I get on the plane later today and I'm flying back and I look outside, I'm going to see a flat, a flat horizon, a horizontal horizon before me, and when I land, and it's everything else is faith based.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
It's not though. It's science based. It's based on data. It's
the
based on our understanding.
The word science means observation. It
which
means
is
testimony
data, which
of
I'm
the eyes.
talking about the measurements, data.
That data is so far removed, one, from my ability to understand, but from
you can
most people's
understand
ability to understand.
the circumference of the Earth, right? You can understand the numbers, and the numbers line up exactly with how much time it would take for the Earth to go around in a day.
Sure. And
it works.
In what other experiment can you show me where water clings to a spinning ball? Like that's kind of the classic flat earther thing that they'll ask you. Like, well, show me any other example
show me
of that.
a fucking ball that's 24,000 miles wide.
And the answer to that is gravity. And what he's talking about in that clip that you just showed is gravity is just sort of this idea that we came up with to justify that.
But there's clearly a force that does that,
that's
right?
density.
Just density?
Density.
Well, then how come these two things will fall at the same time if I drop them when this is far heavier? How come?
I do not have an answer for that.
Right. But gravity does, right?
Gravity is, like he said, it's just a measurement. It's a measurement of how things fall.
Right.
And
measurement...
And the word that they invented, gravity, is just an explanation for how objects are pulled downward.
Right, but those objects...
How come...
If it was just density, wouldn't a heavier object drop faster?
Well, when
there's two balls, there's a bowling ball and feathers dropping in a vacuum, and they're falling at the exact same time.
How weird. Vacuum, no density. They both fall at the same time because of gravity, or whatever the force we call gravity is. But there is some sort of a force that we call gravity that can be measured in a vacuum.
Look how excited they all are.
Yeah, Brian Cox would be pissed if he was here right now. He'd be shitting.
Oh no, he'd be. I'm not. Listen, I'm not. All I'm saying is that my experience in the world.
Of course, but your experience is based on perspective of being a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
There's a few YouTube channels that have broken down all of those flat Earth ideas too.
A ton.
Go watch those. And
I tried years ago and I gave up.
It is absolutely a rabbit hole. But what's interesting about it is that if you extract like the faith that you have in these kind of ideas, and you supplement it with the faith of these other ideas, they're exchangeable.
They're only exchangeable if you don't understand the data, and if you don't understand what's actually been measured, or if you don't understand the path of satellites, or if you don't understand how many different people would have had to lie about this shit and not achieve the same observational results that all these different space agencies have. That the idea that they're all in collusion, that Japan and India and even countries that hate each other, they're all in collusion on this lie that the Earth is round.
Well,
it seems much more likely that there's a bunch of people with schizophrenia that think that the Earth is flat, and they make these YouTube videos where they're very compelling because they're articulate and they use great words and they say it all in a nice way without being challenged by real facts along the way by someone who actually has studied this their whole life.
Right. I still saw digital stitching on your example.
Yeah, it wasn't my example. It was some shit Jamie randomly pulled offline. That was weird, though. And that's perfect for this world that we live in. To have sort of a glitch like that.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is there's so much out there is so much out there that it falls to faith. And it also, what does it really matter? That's kind of what I'm getting at ultimately. Is what does all of that really matter? What does it matter to anybody that there's a cabal of 8,000 plus people who are secretly controlling the world and doing occultism and drinking baby blood? What does it really matter as long as you can just have your daily pint?
This is a very different subject now. We've shifted. You've moved away from the concept of the Earth being flat, and it's a giant lie that's promoted by a huge group of people that aren't even connected in any way, shape, or form, to evil people that are involved in cult-like rituals, which has, by the way, always existed. And this is why it's very difficult for people to imagine today that some of the things that you're hearing from the Epstein files, like the potential that they were eating children or killing children, or that they use that sulfuric acid to boil bodies. We don't want to believe in evil that is that deep. But in my opinion, if you can find out that evil is real, right? Evil most certainly is real. There's evil acts that we have documented all throughout the world. There's evil that the cartel does. I just watched a video where the cartel chopped this guy's head off and put it on a drone and flew it over to where the other cartel was.
They probably thought that was funny. They probably thought it was funny.
Having a good time. That's clearly evil. Yeah. There's plenty of evil.
Do you believe in demons?
I believe in the concept of demons.
I mean, demons don't materialize before us necessarily. They rest upon the shoulders of men and whisper into their ears.
I believe,
and then people do evil things.
This is what I believe. I believe that if I was a demon, or if demons were real, they would get people to do things which are verifiably true that they have done. If you were a demonic idea and you got into Oppenheimer's head or Patton's head or anybody's, and you wanted them to do something horrific to a bunch of innocent people, and you could say this is because we're at war, so we're going to drop a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. Like, that's a demonic act. It's a demonic act of eliminating hundreds of thousands or 100,000 plus people off the face of the earth who did nothing. They're just citizens that are unfortunately involved in a country that is in a conflict with some people that they don't even know, and then they just got vaporized like that. That seems demonic. You've just expired.
But there are people who would argue that
there
are people who would argue that the war would have continued, and I've heard this argument before.
I've heard that argument too.
That the war would have continued and so many more would have died.
Well, if I was a demon, I would want to propagate that idea. Yeah. I would want you to think that you have to do it.
And so, like, is evil justification of things?
Certainly.
Of actions?
If you wanted to find a way where a demon, just assume that demons are real, how would demons best be able to enact demonic things on Earth? Would they do it by saying, I'm a demon and, this is what you should do and this is horrible and evil? Or would you creep into someone's head and find justifications for doing a demonic thing? Like, there's a lot of things. Like,
you would creep into someone's head,
right?
And you would boil the frog slowly.
Like, let's imagine this is the AIDS crisis, and you know that AZT is killing people, but you also know that you are making an insane amount of profit off of killing people with AZT, and you have already established a narrative, and Fauci said this publicly, that the reason why they only prescribe AZT is the only thing that is both safe and effective. He literally used the same language that he used during the COVID crisis.
He's been doing this for a long time.
He has. If I was a demon, I'd want to get in that guy's head, and I'd want to get him to keep doing it and say, look how much money they're making. You got to keep this money. There's a way to justify this. You're the purveyor of information. You are the gatekeeper of the truth. You just find a way to dance around these numbers. You do not know what you are talking about. This is not gain of function. I mean, think just what he did there. That was evil. By taking a virus, funding it, even though it was illegal to fund it in the United States, by doing it through EcoHealth Alliance and then, farming it out to them, they do it at the Wuhan lab. And you are, in fact, doing gain-of-function research on a virus designed for human beings to make it more deadly and more contagious. That's demonic. You don't have a cure.
There was a researcher in Canada at the Manitoba Level 4 lab, Dr. Quee, I think is how you pronounce her name. And she was the one who solved Ebola. Like, she had come up with the vaccine for Ebola, which is manufactured by a California company that is basically a Chinese company. And like a rock star, she had made it was like a hit. She had a hit, a huge hit. And just like a rock star, everybody's asking you, what comes next? What comes next? And so she started actively working really, really hard at coming up with that next thing. And, like most people, you don't want to stand in line. And these level 4 labs, they have to, whenever you move your research from one lab to another, you have to go through all sorts of stuff in order to do that because it's all patented. All of these microbes and viruses and Ebola strains and whatnot, it's all patented. And so, for example, there was this one kid who was working at the lab in Canada, and he was moving, I think, to the one in Atlanta. And so he was crossing the border, and he didn't want to have to reproduce all of his work. And so he just put it into a thermos inside of a thing and tried to cross the border, and he got caught. Well, she got caught in 2019 by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, basically moving stuff from Canada via Air Canada freight from Manitoba, from Winnipeg. This is the Winnipeg lab, to Wuhan. And they were moving everything. And I tracked where those because I was writing a screenplay about it. And so I tracked, where did that come from? Well, it's like the Qatar, or maybe it was Abu Dhabi, I can't remember, the lab there. And then that went through, in order to get around it, got sent to the one in Amsterdam, and that got sent to her. And she was able to do all this stuff. And she was basically just shipping, everything, Hanta and all these patented things to Wuhan, in order to do it. And the Royal Canadian Mounted Police basically, stopped it, and she got walked out of the laboratory and everything because they were like, is there a misappropriation of money going on here? What are all these flights that are occurring? And they redacted who her financer was. And we still don't know who her financer was, but it's one of 3 people, and it's the people you probably can guess. These people who have an interest in this, but her thing was just ambition. It was just like anybody. She was just wanting to have that next hit, and she would do anything to do it, to repeat what she did with Ebola.
So she was helping to engineer viruses?
Yeah, they were engineering stuff, and then she would ship them via Air Canada freight from Winnipeg directly to Wuhan, literally on Air Canada flights. So you're flying on Air Canada to Wuhan, and down below in cargo, there's all this
some shit that
leprosy
could kill everybody.
and some horrible strain of something. It's something that's patented, and then they're just shipping it over to. And none of this has come out. Some papers in Canada, like the Winnipeg Free Press or something, was trying to cover it, but it just gets kind of buried.
That was one of the weird things that I had also seen, that I don't know if it's true, in the Epstein files, that there was talk about engineering a pandemic.
Yeah.
Was it? Did you?
Yeah, I read that too. That they were actively working on it, running models and figuring it out. And, if we do this, then this will happen. And, they were pretty successful at that.
But why would Epstein be involved if he's a financier?
He was involved in everything.
Right.
He was involved in everything. It was amazing, the energy that guy had. Who has the energy to be doing all this stuff all over the world and in Nigeria we're doing this, and in Yemen we're doing this, and here we're doing that. And at the same time, trafficking all these girls and and young children and all this stuff.
Right.
What's the energy to do that?
It says no credible evidence in the recently released Epstein files links Jeffrey Epstein or his associates to engineering the COVID-19 pandemic. Claims stem from a misinterpreted 2017 email referencing routine pandemic preparedness discussions, not a plot. So what was the claim? The original claim? Go down.
I didn't ask it about COVID-19 also.
Right. You just asked it about
assumed
engineering a pandemic. So what is the pandemic claims? Scroll up a little so I can read that.
That's all.
Scroll down a little. There it goes. So 2017 email originally from 2015 discussions to Bill, widely assumed to be Gates. Ugh. Forwarded to Epstein, proposed recommendations and technical specifications for pandemic modeling of various strains. It focused on healthcare data, simulations for preparedness, and neurotechnology, not creating or engineering a virus. Gates Foundation later ran public event 2001 and 2019, a standard exercise with Johns Hopkins and WHO predating COVID reports. That whole public event 2001 is fucking weird. Event 2001 is weird. Context and debunking pandemic simulations are common public health tools for like those for SARS or flu. Right, but why is Jeffrey Epstein involved in these discussions?
He's involved in everything. He's involved in gravity.
But how fucking weird is that? How weird. A pandemic was reportedly mentioned in the Epstein files.
Running the
3
world.
years
He was
before COVID-19.
running the world.
Well, this is what my friend Eddie
And
Bravo
creating the
believes.
illusion. In the meantime, Ghislaine Maxwell is running the Reddit forum on World News. Like, she's literally shaping the World News Reddit forum.
She
at that
was?
time. Yeah,
She
and-
was running the World News forum on Reddit?
Yeah, she was, and it all went dark the minute she got picked up. Her person, but she was like the main contributor. Did thousands of posts, like all day long, posting world news, shaping our perception of things.
One email was a subject preparing for pandemics, was sent by a person whose name was redacted.
By the way, did you see that?
Why would they redact the person who sent that?
Yeah, good
That's
question.
not a victim. You're supposed to redact
I think
victims.
they did like supposedly they just did massive redacting, but sometimes you can see like, oh, the name is short, it's probably Bill, and then the one that comes after that, if it's a little longer, it might be Clinton, and if it's a little shorter, it might be Gates. You know, like you can kind of, but again, that's just it's like there's no foundation. It's like plausible deniability until they release all these names. Did you notice that Jeffrey Epstein's Fortnite account suddenly became active in Tel Aviv, and that somebody is playing under his right after his supposed death?
Right.
Suddenly he's playing Fortnite again.
Yeah, he doesn't even have the decency to make a new account.
Yeah, well, he wants to keep all of his his
stats.
His stats. He wants to keep all that stuff,
God.
and he's safe in in another country.
So do you think they just like did those? That's another thing. There was another Reddit thread about some guy who said that he was a guard.
It was a 4chan thread.
It was a 4chan?
Yeah.
So it was a 4chan thread where this guy said that he was a guard at the facility, and he posted this before Epstein was killed.
He was a guard. They uncovered, using whatever way they do it, but using phone records or whatever from 4chan, they discovered he was a guard and that he was like a legit guy. He got caught basically talking about it, that they snuck, they used a decoy body.
Yes.
There was an unscheduled ambulance arrival that night. They never logged in, and you're always supposed to log in. There's footage of orange, people in orange moving through the facility on the, just glimpses of it on the
So you think
cameras.
he's alive somewhere?
It's
not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's probable.
Also,
it's a probability. It may
whatever.
It's more than a possibility.
The guy who did the autopsy, did anything happen to him? The guy who
he committed suicide.
Yeah, let's find that out. That would be fucking crazy. Because that happened to the guy who did the autopsy on Andrew Breitbart. Didn't he wind up dying shortly after that? Like Andrew Breitbart?
Yes.
And who's the guy who said that Podesta
An alarming amount of people commit suicide.
Alarming.
Who are doing this stuff, who
or die
have
of something
no real reason to
weird.
do so. Yeah, suddenly they
The-
do it.
the
I saw
guy
people
who
in jail
did-
who committed suicide, and they didn't commit suicide. They got killed by their cellie. Nobody bothered checking in on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. The guy who did the autopsy for Jeffrey Epstein, did anything happen to him?
I mean, as a woman.
A woman?
New York Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Barbara Sampson, and she just resigned a year ago.
Okay, so nothing happened to her.
You're talking about evil. You know who the devil was in The Exorcist?
Who?
Well, they say it's like Pazuzu, and we're presented with an actual devil. But when you actually watch the movie, there's kind of evidence that, and people have talked about this, that there's evidence within the film that it's more than just demonic possession, that the demonic possession comes from someplace. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was doing also funding research in how trauma affects like clairvoyance and telepathy and things like that, how you're able to invoke those out of trauma. And in The Exorcist, there's, you have Reagan, who's Linda Blair, and there's that party scene. And you remember in The Exorcist, they're making a movie within the movie. They're actually shooting a movie. The character of the mother is she's acting in a film inside of the movie, and there's a director in that film, and they have a big party scene after it, and the director, he's basically yelling at the butler, her houseman, calling him a Nazi and stuff like that, and he's, I bet you went bowling with Goebbels and things like that. Well, for a while he vanishes from the party. And we later see like Reagan afterwards, like completely flipped out, like laying in bed. And then after that, she comes, and then he's leaving the party, and he turns to the mother, and he's like, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you something. Fuck it. And he leaves. And so, and then after that, Reagan comes down, and she looks to the astronaut guy and says, you're going to die up there. And then she pisses on the floor, and everybody's like, shit. And from that moment on, there's all this like highly sexualized devil speaking through her with a British accent. And the director, is a British guy. And so the implication, and then he is for some reason left with Reagan and then gets thrown out of the balcony, and his head is twisted all the way around, and he dies as a character. So the implication is that the director is the one who has raped Reagan, and thus invoking this demonic presence into her. And it turns out that
I thought it was some totem that they found, and it was possessed.
All of that stuff is there. The Ouija board is there and everything. But it turns out that William Peter Blatty actually made a movie called John Goldfrapp, Your Life is blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the exact title of the film. And he made that movie with Shirley MacLaine. And the director of the film is this guy, J. Lee Thompson, British director, who looks exactly like the actor in that. And so the idea is that Reagan's mother is Shirley MacLaine, and Reagan is her daughter, Sasha. And the British director is J. Lee Thompson. And when you start looking at his movies, they're a little strange. There's like, he directed the original Cape Fear, which has a kind of strange pedophilic thing going on in it.
So does the second one.
And they all do. And then especially they amplify it.
Yeah, with
in
Juliette
the second
Lewis
one.
and Robert De Niro.
He did this movie Kinjite with Bronson, and that all has kind of like a weird pedophilic thing. He did this movie, The Reincarnation of Peter Proud, where Peter Proud dies, and then Peter Proud remembers his reincarnation. He remembers his iteration of his other self who was murdered. And then he hunts down the woman who maybe did it, and then starts sleeping with her daughter, which is basically sleeping with his daughter because he's reincarnated. So this guy, as a filmmaker, has done all this. And so the question, and so William Peter Blatty worked on that film with Shirley MacLaine, and shortly thereafter wrote the book The Exorcist. And Sasha, in her autobiography, even mentions, the person on the cover of the book looked a lot like me. And everyone's just saying, oh, it's just a coincidence. And, I never walked down the stairs on all fours, and I never vomited, pea soup or whatever, that none of that ever happened to me. But there's a pretty dark implication behind the whole film. And I brought it up with William Friedkin. Hey, is this meant to be J. Lee Thompson? Is this a way to talk about that actually happened, in real life? And he said, I cannot talk about that, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
Whoa.
And so, and there's actually a moment where Reagan is talking to her mother, and she's like, well, do you like him? Do you like him like you like Daddy? And so there's this idea that he's been coming over and they've been having this affair. And then all of a sudden she says to her daughter, and it kind of jumped out at me when I rewatched it. She says to her daughter, well, I like pizza, but I wouldn't marry one. And it was like, oh my God, there's like a pizza reference like in the middle of this, in the middle of everything that's happening.
How long is that?
That's Periola,
what
but
Ben
still.
Swan brought up during the whole Pizzagate thing that got him fired. But how long has the term pizza been used?
Well, it jumped out at me, and The Exorcist is in the early 70s, and so what is it, 1971, and that movie that he did with Shirley MacLaine, who is effectively, that's the movie that they're shooting inside of the movie. And so this was a way for William Peter Blatty to kind of transcode all of that. And the astronaut in the film, Shirley MacLaine, talks about the I can't remember if it was her husband or boyfriend that she remarried who was an astronaut. And in her autobiography, she talks about how he was cloned. He came back from space and a different person, that he was cloned. And everybody kind of laughed it off like, oh, it was just kind of a joke that I wrote into my autobiography. But it's kind of weird.
Real weird.
Yeah, it's really strange. So people speak through movies, and they hide information in films. And so I think that
some more than others, right?
Yeah, William Peter Blatty, who was doing all sorts of Ouija stuff with Shirley MacLaine, who was really into that kind of thing back in the late 60s and early 70s. And he sits down to write his book, and what's he writing about? Well, he's writing, that movie's about Shirley MacLaine, her daughter Sachi, and the astronaut, and it's all, and J. Lee Thompson, who basically he eviscerates within the film, but in a way that nobody really connects it. It all happens off camera, but the implication is that she was raped by that director, and from that moment on, has a kind of, she's speaking with a British accent as the devil. It's his voice, actually, that's coming out of her. She's talking about, being raped by a crucifix.
That actor, that's his voice? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the voice of I think his name is McGowan, and he died like shortly after the film was made also. Shortly after The Exorcist was made.
Well, we know that people have encoded very bizarre things. Like Kubrick was famous for it.
Yeah, well, that's Kubrick. Everybody does it. I do it. Everybody does it. I mean, motion pictures are a kind of magic spell. And, when you write, you're hearing, I hear voices, and they come through me and they land on the page. And I don't know where they come from. But it is a kind of invite to possession, and that these things come into you, and that you put it on the page, and then you make this movie, and everybody, like I said, sits in a theater in the dark watching a flicker of this thing, and it's telling you both our myths and traditions, but it's also predictive programming everybody. And so,
Jesus, dude.
Have you seen
Have I seen what?
Well, actually, I was thinking about like that, where the Daily Wire thing, but media comes from a lot of different places now. You don't know where you're going to find your next entertainment.
Right.
And there's this show that I really like, that show Rome. Did you see Rome?
No, I never saw it.
Okay, I loved Rome. It was.
I watched the first episode and I thought it was flat.
I love it because it told the story of ancient Rome through through Shakespeare and through history and through Plato and all these kind of ideas of ancient Rome, or Socrates, and all these ideas of ancient Rome, and then it told a very ground level story from the perspective of like handmaidens and centurions, and it still has Mark Antony and Cleopatra and everything going on in it, but it tells a very soap opera like drama through it. And so there was this other show, and it had been out like 3 seasons when I started watching it, and it did the exact same thing. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody had ever heard about it. Most people don't even know about it. It's The Chosen. Do you know this show?
What was that?
It does the exact same thing, but it does it with the Gospels. And it's all about Christ. And it's like a low budget, or it was low budget, crowdfunded story of Jesus. And it just basically, like Rome, tells this historical tale and about Jesus. And okay, so I've seen every movie about Jesus ever made. I've seen King of Kings, both versions. I've seen, the Zeffirelli film. I've seen Last Temptation of Christ. I've seen The Passion of the Christ. I've seen all of them. I've seen the Jeremy Sisto Jesus movie. I've seen everything. I worked with Paul Verhoeven on his Jesus film that was unproduced. And so I've had a lot of experience in it, and I never really got it, to be perfectly honest. I never really understood the story. This show, I started watching it, and I was like, okay, I've got a chip on my shoulder. Let's see. And it's really cheap. It's like rocks are made out of styrofoam. They can't afford a house, and so they just use blankets and a gourd hanging. And so it's really, really inexpensive. And the script is even a little bit contemporary, and which almost becomes like a joke as you're watching it. It's kind of funny. But lo and behold, I'm watching it, and there came a moment by about episode 3 where it was like, ding, I get it. Like, Jesus is kind of punk rock. He's basically saying there are no rules to anything. Like, you can commit miracles on the Sabbath. There are no rules. Anybody is led. All you need to be is wanting of salvation. And it was like a third eye opened up to me. And this show is fantastic. And it breaks all the rules. It's outside of the Pharisees of Hollywood. One guy, this guy, Dallas Jenkins, who's absolutely my favorite modern filmmaker right now. I think this guy's brilliant. He's directed every single episode of this show, and they've got like 7 seasons out, and you can watch it for free. It's
on what?
On anything. Like if you have an Apple TV, you can just look up The Chosen app, and boop, up comes the Chosen app. And
so it's an app thing.
Or you can watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it. I think Netflix eventually bought it, and now they're showing it. Basically, you can see it anywhere. They give it away the way the Gideons give away the Bible, and I thought it was fantastic. And then season 2 came around, and suddenly they had all this money, and they're doing all these they've got this ancient Judea set with cobblestone streets and, like this detailed set and Roman colonnades and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, like they really got a big budget. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, no, the Mormons have all these standing sets for their biblical productions in Utah. And they're incredible. These sets are unbelievable. If I had known, it's like Chinichita in Utah. It's absolutely fantastic. And the characters are like, they only have money for like 3 Romans costumes probably. And so they're kind of like making do with what they have, but they've got this guy playing the legate there who is hilarious. He's in the first season. He is absolutely hilarious. And the show is great. And then like proper television, you're watching it and you're starting to love these characters, and you're starting to you know what it is? The bread and butter of Hollywood is revenge and wrath. Mm-hmm. Like that's the fuel that pushes most Hollywood movies. It is much more difficult and requires much more maturity to make a movie about forgiveness. And this kid, Dallas Jenkins, I call him a kid, but he's not a kid. That's an insult. He's super great. He is making every single episode is effectively, because it's the Gospels, about forgiveness. And he has done this magnificent, unbelievable achievement. And the show is huge now. They've got like 7 seasons. They've built a studio, like outside of Dallas-Fort Worth on a Salvation Army property that they've built the sound stages and everything. And it is, and that's like, you can get it anywhere. You can watch it anywhere. And they're making programming that should have been on HBO. It should have been produced by HBO the way Rome was. And instead it's coming out of the ether. And it's almost like, with the inattention given to, most modern, or rather the way that people are making things, that they're focused on wrath and revenge, like this other thing, like the Pendragon cycle and the Chosen, have kind of risen out of the vacuum that the studios and broadcasters have kind of created, because they're no longer making that kind of product, at least not as much. And so I think this is actually one of the most exciting times in media and television.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very unusual time where the normal people that are producing things don't have a complete monopoly on what people see, and that many of the times these alternative things have gotten much larger than the mainstream things.
I find it like almost impossible to get a movie going. Like I'm like an independent filmmaker. I go out there and I work on a script, and then I figure out the budgets, and I figure out and I go out and I hit the pavement, and it's like really hard probably because I'm a flat earther. Kidding. I am not a flat earther. I just like to provoke people. But, I go out there and I try to get this stuff made, and it's like almost impossible. And then I built a technology company over the last year, and basically making AI movies. And all of a sudden, boom, like that, money gets thrown at it. And all of a sudden, just by attaching the word AI and that it's a technology-based company, all of a sudden investors came in, and we're in production on 3 films now.
AI's hot right now.
3. I know, that's the crazy thing, is that it was so easy for me to get that going and so difficult for me to get a traditional movie going through the traditional route, like going to, A24, blah, 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 trying to hit the pavement. Oh, I have to go to Europe to gather together financing and everything like that. No, just put AI in front of it, and all of a sudden you're in production on 3 features. And we're making a Christmas movie, a family Christmas movie that'll be in theaters this holiday season. We're making a faith-based film for next Easter, and then we're making a kind of big romantic war epic. And like as classical movies, and we have like a proprietary stack of technology that we use for our process. And I partnered with this company, Massive Studios AI, and formed my company, which is General Cinema Dynamics. And I'm based here in Texas now, or my company is, and I'm slowly transitioning.
Nice.
And it's actually kind of, I think, so many people are against AI, like Guillermo, and, love him, but he's like, fuck AI. But all it is visual effects. Mm-hmm. And I have experience like with that Beowulf movie doing it. And what used to be $1 million a minute is now $5,000 a minute. And so to do it really, really well, like it looks kind of amazing, actually. And so I think for independent cinema and for the future of film and television production, these are super exciting times.
All right, Roger, we just burned through 3 hours plus.
Really? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's already 4 o'clock.
I figured this out just so I can share it with you. All right, so what I pulled up is this.
This is NASA, right? This is proper,
let me just explain
proper NASA.
Let him talk.
So this is a FAR TV. They're pulling in multiple feeds. There's 3 different boxes at the bottom. As you can see, this one in the middle says offline. So as I showed you also, I pulled up the NASA feed, which is this. It says it's offline. When that is offline, this channel adds a 3D model showing where the satellite currently is so that you can still follow along. 30 minutes ago, it wasn't offline, and it was showing a different feed, and I wish I could have showed it to you then, but I didn't interrupt. So
got it.
There is a Flat Earth YouTube or a Reddit account asking this exact thing. What is that? And the people on the Flat Earth Reddit gave me the answer.
Yeah, the crazies. The crazies have come out to...
Okay.
So there you go. So that was what that was.
Well, I'm glad we put that to...
So it just says the video description, switch to a simulation with the ISS above the Earth when the connection is lost, a.k.a. offline.
I was going to point that out because you can see the stars in there, and you can't normally see the stars while you can see the Earth.
I'm glad we can be comforted by at least one thing that is secure and stable in our understanding of reality.
Roger, that was very fun, though. Thank you very much. Let's do this
really
again.
A pleasure.
It was a good time.
Really super pleasure.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you very much. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.